Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newington Town Council's public hearing, Thursday, August 27th, 2020. We are calling the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. If you would please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll begin with the roll call, please.
Sorry, I was muted. Councilor Annis?
Here.
Councilor Braverman?
Here.
Councilor Budraco?
Here.
Councilor Camillo?
Here.
Councilor Donahue?
Here.
Councilor Mankey?
Here.
Councilor Minor?
Here.
Councilor Nagel?
Here.
Mayor Del Buono?
Here. Thank you. Everyone is present. We will move on now. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to provide an opportunity for interested individuals to express their views regarding the proposed Anna Reynolds Elementary School renovation project bond resolution. And we are going to start with a presentation by the Anna Reynolds Project Building Committee and Board of Education representatives. The Superintendent of Schools, Ms. Brummett, is here, and I'm not sure who you'd like to start, Dr. Brummett.
Prior to them beginning, can I read the legal notice into the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, James.
No, not a problem at all. Notice of public hearing, Town of Newington, Connecticut, August 27th, 2020. Notice is hereby given that the Town Council of the Town of Newington, Connecticut will hold a public hearing via Zoom webinar in Newington, Connecticut on Thursday, August 27th at 7 p.m. for the following purpose. To hear comments on the following resolution. Town of Newington Town Council resolution authorizing an appropriation of $35.5 million for the Anna Reynolds Elementary School renovation project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $17,750,000 and the use of grants and other such sources of funds, as well as establishing a date for a referendum. This notice was posted on the town clerk's posting board on August 19th, posted on the town website on August 19th as well, under Executive Order 7I, Section 19, and also posted as a news flash on the Town of Newington website on August the 20th.
Perfect. Thank you. Got to keep us on track. I appreciate that. All right. I apologize, Dr. Brummett. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and members of the Town Council. Tonight, I'm joined by the team from Colliers, Chuck Warrington and John Koplis. I also am joined by Principal of Anna Reynolds School, Jason Smith, our Chief Financial Officer, Lou Jacomowitz, and the Chairman of the Building Committee, Mr. Steve Woods. So I'm going to start the presentation by asking Chuck and John to lay out sort of the background and history of the project and the timeframes, and then I'll conclude with some other information.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Brummett. Chuck Warrington with Colliers Project Leaders. As Dr. Brummett mentioned, John Koplis is here with me as well to assist in the presentation. We're Colliers, we're out of Madison, Connecticut. We are assisting on the Town Hall project. I think many of you in the town may be familiar with us. We were engaged in April of this year to assist the Building Committee and the Board of Ed with putting together a grant application for the project, upon which we did and submitted that grant application earlier than the June 30 deadline to the state of Connecticut. As part of that process, we did a preliminary evaluation of the building, developed a project budget, confirmed the student enrollments and evaluated the building against what we call the space standard calculation with the state. And we're going to talk about that in a little while for that. But that's just kind of a brief history of what we've completed to date to get where we're at now. If you can go to the next slide, please. I'm going to pass it to John Koplis. He's going to just give you a brief overview of what we found for the existing conditions, many of those which I think many of you probably have heard already. But we just want to give the public an idea of what the existing conditions are for the building.
Thank you, Chuck, and good evening, everybody. The initial site inspection was performed back, I believe it was the beginning or middle of April, so several months ago. And us from the office, did a walkthrough of the facility, both the exterior and interior existing conditions, and starting with the building envelope, which essentially is the skin of the building, including the roof, your window systems, the outside skin, if you will, some of the EFIS panels, the existing exterior doors. A lot of those components, as I'm sure many of you are aware of there in town, are in need of some repairs. Some of the components certainly more so in need of repair than others, specifically the roof. The window systems are very dated. They are not energy efficient. And a lot of it is single pane glass, so that is not conducive to keeping the building itself airtight and healthy, if you will. Also, some of the canopies, some of the overhangs, in addition to the roof, are in need of some repairs. You have some concrete spalling, efflorescence conditions there that are very evident if that is something that's been noticed by any of you there on site. Another component, certainly with respect to the interior, are the MEP systems, the mechanicals, the HVAC, the electrical, some of the plumbing. A lot of that is dated. A lot of it does go back to the original construction time frame, 1954, associated with the school itself. So, just the use and abuse over the years and decades, has resulted in some of those components needing to be addressed and ultimately, updated and improved. Another component element is your security system associated with the school itself. With the latest SSIC guidelines, there are some components associated with the entry vestibule and some of the other exterior entry points and or perimeter elements that ultimately should be upgraded to meet those requirements. There are some minor ADA handicap accessibility components that, ultimately I think should be addressed in the school, specifically the need ultimately to install an elevator, which would help facilitate access from the upper level, if you will, over near the main office down to the lower level, which ultimately is where the gym is located. So an elevator would certainly help to expedite access to that area without having to do the entire route around the school itself. And there's some other elements, components. Storage is certainly a challenge within the facility. And another thing that we did notice also is the nurse's office is pretty much undersized and really to meet today's standards within school systems, should be updated and brought into the proper square footage relationship with respect to the needs there. We can go to the next slide, please, Jim. So taking that initial site inspection and that information, we then analyzed the existing facility and determined what is there and ultimately what needs to be there in order to address the potential new programming, the intention of the facility, of Jason's approach there as the principal, what they're looking to do to bring in, ultimately the best programming scenarios for the school itself, and what those existing spaces do have and what is needed. And so this slide, which shows the floor plan of the facility itself, essentially breaks out the building into a couple of different components. Simply put, the yellow components are the classrooms, the pink or mauve components there are showing some of the support spaces such as the gym, the cafeteria, the media center, music room, etc. And then the blue elements are associated with some of the supports areas associated with the main office, teacher area, lounge, etc., things like that. So taking those different areas, we were then assessing ultimately what can be done with what's there, as well as what the intentions are with respect to the envisioning from Jason and the school system with respect to what ultimately they would like that school to provide. So ultimately, again, what we end up determining is that the school itself, the square footage is adequate for what needs to be done. So that is a good component with respect to what the state is looking for. So in the end, we did not see the need to provide an addition per se to the structure, but more so a modification to the existing building with respect to where and how components were laid out or positioned with respect to proximities and access components with respect to the entire floor plan. If we can go to the next slide, please, Jim. One of the first elements that needs to be addressed when dealing with the submission to the state is the educational specification. And there was a preliminary specification put together by the Board of Education back in the beginning of the year, back in January, which gave a general outline. However, with respect to the OSC GNR committee in the state, they are looking for something to be a little bit more specific and a little bit more detailed. So we spent about a month and a half, Colliers did, working with Jason and several of the administrators there at the facility, putting together a much more expanded level of detail for each of the associated spaces for the facility, expounding on some of the components that either are there or intend to be there, so that ultimately creates what is known as the space standards for the facility and exactly how those rooms are going to be used with respect to the building itself. So those specifications were put together, and ultimately they were approved by the Board of Education back at the beginning of June. Next slide, please, Jim. Thank you.
Yes, so Chuck Warrington here again with Colliers. So we just want to briefly talk about the enrollment projection, the space standards, that terminology. That is a statutory calculation that the state of Connecticut Department of Education uses to establish how much they're going to reimburse a district for a specific project. It's based upon the 8-year high projected enrollment following grant application. So this year would be the first year, October 1 of the enrollment. And as you can see in the spreadsheet to the left, it may be a little bit grainy, but depending on your enrollment, we'll enter in an average square foot per student, and then it calculates the average, and then you multiply by the projected 8-year and you get a total. In our case, they're projecting the maximum be just over 53,000 square feet. And that's called building area. It's inside face of walls. It's not gross square foot. The existing building itself is about 61,000 square feet. So it's a little larger than what the state would normally reimburse for. But in this case, the state's not going to ask us to chop off parts of the building to fit into it. It just doesn't make economic sense. And also these calculations don't always take into account some of the newer programs in today's learning environment that weren't in the programs before. Special education programs, OT, PT, intervention type spaces, and other support spaces that are required in 21st century learning. So, so we're very close to being right size for the building. In addition to, we're talking about the ADA elevator. We talked to the state, and they're not going to calculate that against us because it is an improvement to provide accessibility through the building for anybody who's been there. So this is a very important aspect of getting the renovation status and getting support from the state. Next slide, please, Jim. The renovation status, we think it's important throughout the process to educate taxpayers and stakeholders on what renovation status means. And it's basically bringing an existing project to a like new status That'll be like new for 20 years, similar to a new building, all new mechanicals, electricals, finishes, roof, windows. Again, as it implies, renovate as new. It's like building a new building, but using the existing bones of the facility and hopefully coming in with a lower cost than a new project. In order to determine if the facility is a good candidate, the district's hired a licensed architect, JCJ Architecture out of Hartford, and they've completed an analysis of the facility to certify that it can be brought to a like new status. They look at things such as structural integrity, the building envelope, mechanical systems, et cetera. And they have to certify that that's a requirement of OSCGR, in addition to looking at the cost of a new versus a renovation. And in this case, a new would be a couple $1 million more than the renovation amount that we're asking for, as well as looking at the site and the intangibles. If anybody's been there, the only available site on the existing site is down below. Not necessarily ideal in our case. So we think that this project is a great candidate for renovation status, and hopefully we'll have an indication of that by the time we go to referendum. Next slide.
So this slide depicts the proposed phasing of the school renovation work. This is something that we have reviewed preliminarily, certainly with a contractor. And what this depicts is the potential, again, it is preliminary, but the potential approach that would be taking towards the renovation to the school itself. It would be done in phases, would be roughly over an 18-month time period. And a lot of what we would be able to accomplish would be done by using some of the swing spaces, such as the library space, the music room, things like that would be potentially subdivided and used as temporary classrooms in order to try to maximize the other existing classrooms to create as large a group or an area as possible to help minimize the number of phases and then also expedite the work itself. A lot of the work would also, we would concentrate during the summer months. Per the proposed schedule, we would have 2 summers where we would sort of blast, if you will, the work on that site and maximize and take advantage of not having any of the staff or the students there to really go at as much of the areas as possible and address as much as we can during those couple months when the school is more readily accessible. So again, this is something that is a proposed approach, but would help to explain and show how the school would be addressed as we would ultimately work our way around that plan, renovating the different pods or components as we go through the process. Next slide, please. So in conjunction with the phasing, another element that is put together is the project schedule itself from the beginning to ultimately the end of the project. And this is a little snapshot, if you will, of the overall schedule. And what this shows is essentially where we are now, which is at the end of August, showing the pre-referendum stage there in the blue. And the grant, as noted earlier, has been applied for. That was submitted by the end of June. So that is in with the state. And then the next element is the star, which indicates the referendum date, which would be November 3rd. And then shortly after that, assuming that the referendum does pass, we would then get into the selection of the architect, the OPM company, and then also the design phase would then subsequently begin shortly, beginning of next year. The design itself would take roughly about a year. And then, as mentioned earlier, the construction itself would be about an 18-month duration. And at this point in time, we're projecting a completion date at the end of 2023.
Yeah, we could stay on that one there for John, just to opine that
sorry.
a little bit. If referendum hopefully is approved and passes with the taxpayers, what's important is that the district will need to report to the state no later than November 15th of that, the funding authorization, so that this project can be put on what's called the priority list. That gets sent to the legislature by December 15th. That's a statutory requirement, for that. And then ultimately, hopefully in the next legislative session for 2021, the project's put on a priority list and you receive a grant commitment from the state. And that's when, you have a partnership with the state and they're going to help you pay for it. Next slide. So kind of what probably the important meat of tonight is the project budget. Colliers, we've performed a lot of projects with a lot of districts, renovation, build new, et cetera, throughout the state very recently, where we have a really good base of projects to pull from, on these costs and a lot of historic values. We've managed budgets from A to Z. So this is where we're pulling them from. We estimate the new construction, including the elevator site escalation costs, that's taken into account the schedule. And that's kind of a interesting topic these days with COVID, and it's a little bit dynamic, if you will, and volatile, but bidding right now is very good. Any projects that can get out, would like to get them out. But we estimate that to be about $27.5 million. And if this gets approved, this will be called the control budget, construction control budget, that the architect and the construction manager and OPM project team is responsible for designing and building to. And that has to be properly managed throughout the design process and construction. FF&E is your furniture, fixture, and equipment. It's all your loose furniture, your student desks, chairs, teachers' desks, filing cabinets, et cetera, nurses' equipment. We estimate that at about 1.7 million, and that's based upon historic values. Fees and expenses, from here down, we basically call them soft costs, if anybody hasn't heard that term before. These are fees for the architect, the designer, the construction manager, project manager, commissioning agent. That'll be a requirement of renovation status. They check all the MEP systems and all the other miscellaneous costs that and many budgets don't get accounted for in the soft costs. And that's where some costs they run short on a project because they're not accounted for. If you look at our budget, we probably have about 30, 40 of these line items that we account for. And again, historically, we've seen all these costs and know what they are. And then the bottom one is the contingency. This is the owner's contingency. It's for the town's use to cover items such as field conditions that we may not be able to encounter or discover until construction. Might be additional requests during construction for any potential betterments that may arise. Errors and omissions on the design side. Hopefully those are minimal if we do our jobs right. That would be minimal. And then if there's any, we call third-party requests, such as the building official, fire marshal, during the construction, they'll see things that they didn't see during the design phase. And that's intended to cover that cost and any other unforeseen costs. So the total of those is the $35.5 million. And as noted, I think in the resolution, the district bonding would be capped at $17,750,000. I think that might have been base. We had estimated with renovation status anywhere from 16 to 19 million for the district share. So that's right in the middle. And what's key, what's very important in the district share and the capping is that renovation status. One thing I didn't point out is that with the renovation status being granted, it greatly reduces the ineligible costs that the state will pay for. That's very, very significant. It's very important to achieve that. We've had discussions with the state so far, and those have been promising. We don't have this. We don't have the approval yet. We're hoping to get it by the time it goes to the priority list through the Office of State Construction Grants and Review. Next slide, Dr. Brumman, I believe.
Thank you very much. This last slide has pictures of actual Anna Reynolds students. And I wanted to add that to our closing slide because, the Board of Education and I are charged with making sure all of our school facilities are equitable in what they offer students, both in the programming and the facilities. And as you can tell by some of the discussion this evening, Anna Reynolds is not equitable to the other 3 elementary schools who've had more recent renovations and all of the reasons that have been discussed by both John and Chuck. So I believe that, in my role as superintendent, along with the Board of Education, I need to advocate for making sure we have equitable facilities. I believe now, though we are in the middle of a COVID crisis, it has also triggered lower interest rates, which is favorable for when we make, ultimately a loan is made, if that is what takes place. And the renovation for Anna Reynolds is not new. When I arrived, I was told that it's been in the discussions for close to 10, close to 10 years. And of course, in the course of 10 years, many numbers have been discussed as to the cost of the project. The number that you're hearing this evening, though, is the actual number after an architect has looked at the, inner workings of the school and all of its needs. But it's not going to get any cheaper. We all know that inflation impacts anything that we do in the world, and certainly construction or renovation is no exception. So the longer this keeps being put off, the longer we're going to see escalating costs. There has been discussion that maybe we just do this in a piecemeal approach, the roof or other components, but there are so many pieces of this building that need to be addressed that a piecemeal approach is not going to be enough, but also it's going to be the lesser cost-effective way, because when you do it as a individualized projects, your reimbursement rates are substantially less. So, and at the very least, this building needs a new roof. It absolutely needs new air handling systems, new envelope because it's not energy efficient, and the security there is in significant need of upgrades. That's just, in summary, there's quite a bit more to do. So the based on the town's proposed language for the referendum, it looks like the maximum bonding cap for the town would be 17.75 million. And after we worked with the town finance director, she indicated that that would have a net impact, again, average estimated impact to the average taxpayer in Newington at $64 per year after 2023. So at this point, I just want to close out by saying thank you for the opportunity for myself and the gentleman from Colliers to make this presentation. I do feel that it's absolutely the right time to do this for the children, the staff, the parents of Anna Reynolds, and for that equity component. And we're happy to answer any questions that might come along or whatever the protocol is next. But thank you very much for the opportunity. And that's
Thank you, Dr. Brummett, and everyone that presented. We appreciate that. It was a very thorough presentation, and we really wanted the public to be able to know more about the project and understand it, and so I appreciate that. Thank you all. The next part of our public hearing would be to hear from the public. So just, I'm sorry, go ahead, James. I'm waiting for the slides to change.
Now go ahead. I'm just transitioning through.
Okay. Well, we are going to put the bond language on the screen, I believe, so that people can view it if they'd like. We won't be reading it right now, but on the screen is the draft resolution that would be presented at referendum. We did receive about 60 letters, I believe, emails, I should say, to our Newington Town Council email address that we received prior to the deadline, which was yesterday at 5 p.m. So we will be reading those into the record. Additionally, I see that we have 39 attendees right now in the Zoom conference with us. So I will be looking to see if there are people in attendance that want to speak as well. The one thing I will say is that for a public hearing, you only get one chance to speak. So if you have written in a letter and that gets read in, then that would take away, that would be your one chance to speak. So we wouldn't be able to do both by phone as well as by letter. It's one or the other. So we'll be doing that to honor the rules of our council. Let me just grab our list here. And just before I start, so that I don't forget later on, we are, after the public hearing, we are going into a special meeting, which is when the council gets to discuss what was heard at the public hearing. So for our role during this, it really is to just listen, and then the council will discuss what we hear from everyone, and we'll consider sending the resolution off to referendum at our special meeting following this. The only caveat I have is that by council rules, we are only able to enter into a new meeting if we do so before 10:30. So we want to hear from everyone, and I will not put any limits on that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just letting people know that in the interest of time, if we have 60 letters to read in, as well as, we have 30 or so attendees, if everybody were to take their 3 minutes, that would be like 5 hours, and that's fine. It's just that we wouldn't be able to move to the next step, which would be, I think, what everybody is looking for, which is for us to vote on moving it to referendum later. So if that's the case, please try to be brief in your comments, if at all possible, so that we can hear everyone and still get to the next matter of business. All right. So that being said, we have 60 letters that I believe we're going to be projecting on the screen, and I will call on counselors to go ahead and read them. I do have one attendee who has her hand up right now.
Do you want to do
go
the
to her-
letter second, Mayor?
Pardon me?
Do you want to do the letters afterward? I have noticed that we do have several individuals who supplied letters who may wish to speak instead. I don't know if you want to give them the opportunity to do that and waive the reading of their actual email.
Yep, that seems like the best course of action. That makes sense to me. So we can go, I will start allowing, the first person that had their hand up, I believe, is Rose Lyons. So Rose, if that's you, you can go ahead and unmute and state your name and address for the record.
Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I do not have a child at Anna Reynolds, so I have no personal interest in this, other than the fact that I do have friends that had children entering Anna Reynolds when it needed repair, and those same children are now entering Newington High School, and nothing has been done other than the Band-Aids that have been put on the school. I, as a 75-year-old resident of the town of Newington, would like to see this put to referendum and let the people decide whether or not they want to go ahead and renovate as new the Anna Reynolds School. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Bear with me, it just takes a second to navigate through our system. The next caller ID says Neil J. Ryan. Mr. Ryan, you can go ahead and unmute.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Great. Good evening. My name is Neil Ryan. I live at 237 Brockett Street, Newington. And I want to state that I fully support the renovation of the Anna Reynolds School and urge this town council to push this project in order for it to go to referendum this November. With a state reimbursement for the project of between 50 to 58%, this project may never be as taxpayer friendly in the future as it will be right now. The bottom line is the work needs to be done. I'm sure some people will say they're opposed to the project, saying it'll cost too much money. Such an attitude is short-sighted. The longer the town waits, the more expensive the project will be. And is in terms of Newington's school system in general, I think that Newington's public school system is the town's greatest natural resource. And a town with an outstanding public school system with state-of-the-art facilities represents a huge plus for Newington. This type of public school system would make families with young children consider buying a home in and moving to Newington, which can only be a plus for property values. Finally, a civil might be opposed to the project, saying it's going to result in an increase in property taxes. Maybe, maybe not. If my property taxes need to be increased in order to fully fund this project, then increase my property tax. I have no problem with that. I will consider it an investment in my town and money well spent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Okay, our next caller, the caller ID says Brian Hagerty. Let me just click on that. Okay, Brian Hagerty, you can go ahead and identify yourself for the record and unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Brian Hagerty, 529 Fenn Road. I am a big supporter of education. I am concerned about the cost of the project. 35.5 million, it's about $580 square feet or per square feet, which seems like an astronomically high cost. I'm not suggesting that new construction be done, but a new build, the town hall was built for around $400 a square foot. And please correct me if I'm wrong on that. No one denies that the condition that the school's in and things need to be fixed, but also need to be fiscally responsible as well as a town. A brand new town hall just got built. And what else in the town needs to be fixed? Again, I am for all renovations and getting the school back up to code and fixed and safe. But I would just ask that, people be as fiscally responsible as possible. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hagerty. The next person with their hand raised is S. Maz, which I believe is Ms. Mazzicoli.
Hi, Sumi Mazzicoli, 149 Pierce Drive, Newington, Connecticut. Only one of my children attended Anna Reynolds, and that was from 1996 to 2000. He had horrific asthma. And at that time, I felt the school air system needed work. And looking back now, I know that it needed work. And so, of course, I've been pushing for this since 1996. I'm happy to see that it's finally coming to a referendum. At least I hope so. I am in favor of that. If you cannot breathe, you cannot learn. If you cannot breathe, you're not reading. If you cannot breathe, you're not playing. If you cannot breathe, you're not singing. If you cannot breathe, you're not engaging. All these things cannot happen when you cannot breathe. With asthma, you cannot breathe. I've been very happy with the janitorial staff. When I was on the Board of Education, if there was any cuts to the janitorial staff, I fought those cuts because I knew that would affect the health of our children. So thank you very much for considering this for a referendum. I urge your support. And that's my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzicoli. The next speaker that we have is State Representative Gary Turco.
Hello, Mayor. It's good to see you today.
Good evening. I just wanted to remind you that you did submit a letter. So do you want this to count as your public?
Yes, I thought I'd save you from having to read the letter into the record, and I'll summarize my comments if that's okay with you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, I just wanted to quickly express my strong support for this project. I believe the Anna Reynolds Elementary School renovation project should go to referendum and be decided by the residents of Newington this election. I think you've heard and and the entire town council from the different public hearings, from hearing from parents, from visiting the school yourself, the amount of renovations that it needs to ensure that our children, our teachers, and all of our staff are kept safe within the school and healthy. And the lack of handicap accessibility, out-of-state security features. And I do believe that if we put this project off longer and just, do, smaller projects just to mitigate it rather than the entire renovation that's needed, it will just in the long term be a disservice to taxpayers. It'll end up costing us more money. As the superintendent stated, it will reduce the amount of reimbursement we get from the state. So I believe that not only is it very important we do this for the safety and health of all those in Anna Reynolds, but it's also going to save the taxpayers money. So it's a win-win for everyone here. But let me assure you, Mayor, and to the entire town council, as long as I am your state representative, you'll be able to count on me at the state capitol to fight for the reimbursement that Newington deserves. And that should be at least 50%, potentially more. I have a very good relationship with Governor Lamont, a good relationship with the administration and with leadership from both the Senate and the House. I've been very successful in bringing money back to Newington, and I'll be able to help secure the reimbursement that we need. So I just want to give you that confidence because I've seen some things around social media saying that Perhaps Newington won't be able to get its reimbursement, and that could make this project a lot more costly on the town side. And I want to assure you that these type of school construction projects and infrastructure projects are still a priority for the state of Connecticut, despite everything we're going through with COVID. I've been in negotiations for this September doing a special session for these same exact school construction projects for the schools, the towns that have already gone the referendum. And we will be moving forward with those projects. So I have full confidence that if this passes in referendum in the 2021 session, I'll be taking a bill on the floor of the House that will have the 50% or greater reimbursement for the town of Newington. So I just want to make sure that you know that, Mayor, you have the confidence that I will do my best with the rest of the Newington delegation to get that money for Newington. Thank you for your time, and I hope that the council will approve this project and move it forward for referendum.
Thank you, Representative Turco. Okay, the next person with their hand raised is Tracy Pingalore.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Tracy Pingalore, 44 Cinnamon Road. I just want to say that I support this going to referendum. My stepchildren have received a great education in this town. We stay in this town to raise our child because of the schools. And I really want to see this project go through. So thank you all.
Thank you. The next person is Dana. Dana, are you there? The caller ID just says Dana.
She just went on mute.
Sorry, I'm here.
There you are.
I'm on my daughter's laptop and I don't know how to use it. Dana Havens, 113 Stoddard Avenue. And I was just wondering, when is the report going to be ready from that company that's out there surveying the rest of our buildings and what they're going to need and the costs or the estimated costs of them? Will it be before this referendum so that, you know, we could really make an informed decision on what needs to go first? Although, of course, children first. But I just wanted to get an idea on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Havens. And next we have Erika Wetzel.
Yes, my name is Erika Wetzel and I live at 92 Old Musket Drive. And I am definitely in favor of.
Oh. Ms. Wetzel, are you there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a bad click on my part. Could you please restart?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. My name is Erika Wetzel and I live at 92 Old Musket Drive. And I am very much so in support of the Anna Reynolds school renovation project. I am the vice president of the Anna Reynolds PTO. My oldest daughter, Adriana, is going into 3rd grade, and my youngest daughter, Kaylin, is going to be in kindergarten this year. I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I know very much firsthand how important social and emotional well-being is in the development of our growth of our children. I also know that there are a variety of issues that can impact a child's development and growth, which can have a negative impact on a child. Environment, of course, is one of those risk factors. You know, on the CDC website, the Children's Environmental Health shares that children are not little adults. Their bodies are not the same as adult bodies because they are small and still developing. They are more easily exposed to environmental contaminants because children, you know, they actually breathe more air, they drink more water, they eat more food per pound of body weight than actually adults do. Children are more likely to put their hands in their mouth, and children's bodies may not be able to break down and get rid of such harmful contaminants that enter their bodies. Health problems from environmental exposure can take years to develop. And because they are young, children have more time to develop these conditions and diseases than adults who are later in their life would be exposed. So much about our environment can affect health, and right now a lot of it is unknown. So what do we do about it? I know that my kids are so special and their well-being is so important, and all of the children in Anna Reynolds are so special and their well-being is important. And I would even go as far as saying all of the young people and children in our town are so special and so important as well. Therefore, our kids deserve a safe and healthy environment for them to grow, to prosper and advance in their learning abilities. While I am confident that the teachers and the staff at Anna Reynolds are phenomenal and they do an excellent job, I know that they work really hard with our children with the resources that they have. And it's important for them to have a school environment where they can thrive as teachers so that they can help our children reach their greatest potential. I know that last year in our school, we celebrated how well the Anna Reynolds students were doing despite all these building issues, but I believe that they could do even better with the right tools and building support put in the right places. I am asking today for your support to help our children. They are our future. The teachers and staff are your neighbors, and the Anna Reynolds school community is here, and we are the community at large in Newington, and I am asking for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wetzel. The next person is Jonas Roberts. Welcome, Mr. Roberts.
Good evening. My name is Jonas Roberts. I live at 6 Pfister Drive. I am not only a community member, but I'm also a third grade teacher at Anna Reynolds. And I'm here once again to not only speak my belief in the renovation and encourage you to move the referendum forward as a community member, but also as a teacher speaking on behalf of the students and families. The building itself is beyond the point of repair, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things. I know a lot of people, the roof has been stuck in their mind, but I want to remind people of really the true conditions and some of the things we're working with that cannot be fixed piecemeal. I also like to remind you that Anna Reynolds has brought national recognition to our town and our public schools, not once, but twice, by being a Blue Ribbon School of Excellence. To me, it is disappointing, and some people might even say unacceptable, to have allowed our School of Excellence to fall into such disrepair. My 4 children went to Patterson. The school is modern and everything always appeared to be working as expected. This is not the case at Anna Reynolds. I'd like to give a few examples of things other than the roof. The boiler system in our school has been stuck on more than one occasion. With our school, it is radiant heat. And so with that radiant heat, it travels up the legs of the desks and the chairs, heating the metal and then heating the seats themselves, the desks themselves. Coming into school the next morning, the air was unhealthy to breathe. It was stifling. The water bottles on the kids' desks were very, very warm. Kids had snacks that they left that melted. And that has happened on more than one occasion. And as other people have said, how can students be expected to learn under such uncomfortable and unhealthy circumstances? Another example, my light switch, when I was walking the students to wellness, when I went to shut the lights off, the switch plate itself was hot to the touch. That wiring is from the 50s, from when the school was built. When I reached around to the other side of the cinder block wall, I could still feel heat on the other side of that wall. While the students were at wellness and then lunch and recess, they had to bring in an electrician to kill the breaker and actually switch out the switch plate to make sure that it was safe. So they switched out mine because it was hot to the touch and it was a problem, but they did not go through and switch out all the switch plates in the school. And to me, that is a concern and also a safety hazard. Other schools in town have been maintained while Reynolds has been kind of pushed to the side and kind of neglected. I'm here to ask you to take care of all of the students by providing them a safe, up-to-date school to learn in. If we're going to maintain and modernize our schools, we need to make sure we maintain and modernize all of our schools. Anna Reynolds School and the families can no longer be neglected, that the action of referendum and letting the other families from other schools have their voice heard in the decision for referendum, they should be able to also have their voice. So I'm truly encouraging you to move forward with the referendum. We value education in our town. It's what motivates people to move here and to decide to stay here. And so I think many people that, even though they may not live in the Reynolds district, they know that their schools, what the renovations that have been done to their schools, and by doing the same for Anna Reynolds, will improve our property values, maintain people staying here, and more people wanting to move in for the excellence that is the Newington Public Schools. So I strongly encourage you to move forward with referendum proposal, and I thank you for listening and for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. I don't see any other hands up right now in the attendees window, so we're going to begin reading the letters that we've received, and then we can always go back and address those that, there are 2 more people that raised their hands just now, so we'll quickly take those. We do have 60 letters to read in also. The first person with their hand up is, the caller ID says Doug.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, it's Adriana and Doug Ruscio, 136 Walsh Avenue.
Welcome.
I'd also like to say that we are in favor. Our son is starting kindergarten, so thank you. And yeah, we are all in favor in our household. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Michael Fox. Mr. Fox, are you there?
Mike, you got to unmute.
Mr. Fox, you're muted right now. Are you able to unmute your mic?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. There you are.
There I am. Okay.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I'm going to be brief anyway. And I mean, all I want to say is I think we've you know,
Name and address for the record, please.
and threw all sorts of money, time, and energy into the roof, bathrooms, everything. I think there comes a time when you need to stop all this repair and renovate.
Mr. Fox, could you state your name and address for the record, just so we're on?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. Michael J. Fox, 1901 Main Street.
Thank you.
Okay, and well, basically, I support the building of the renovation of Anna Reynolds School wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Okay, we're going to move to our letters. The counselors have a listing of the letters that we've received, and they will be displayed on the screen. If you notice that the name of the person that you're supposed to be reading, because we did kind of assign it ahead of time, has already spoken in public participation, we're just going to skip that and go to the next person on the list. So that would be one less letter you have to read. We're going to start with Counselor Anist. Counselor Anist, you're muted.
Thank you. James, can you push it up?
You're muted again.
Good afternoon. I'm writing to indicate my support of the renovations for the Anna Reynolds School. All 3 of my children attended and have long moved on. However, I was aware of the need for repairs and renovations even then. Please consider the renovating of this amazing school as a priority. Sincerely, Amy Lynch.
Thank you, Counselor Annis. Next is Counselor Bedrego.
Isn't it Counselor Braverman?
We're moving on because that person already spoke.
Oh, okay. From Paul Alderucci, I'm writing to you tonight to express my support for the Anna Reynolds renovation project. I'm fully behind renovating Anna Reynolds immediately and do not support any type of temporary fixes over the next couple of years. This project has been put on hold too long, and every time it gets pushed down the line. I'm afraid that will keep happening. Right now, we have the opportunity for state funding, and I'm afraid that will be lost as well. With everything that is going on with COVID-19, I believe we need to take the steps to ensure the proper safety, health, and education that our children and educators deserve. I've seen the pictures, I've seen the tour, and heard all the stories online as well. I just cannot support temporary fixes for this institution anymore. I attended the school when it was Northwest, and both my children attended it as Anna Reynolds. I have great pride in this town and education system it provides. I firmly believe that the renovation project as a whole should move ahead, and the town should put it to referendum to vote on it. Paul Alderucci, 62 Old Farm Drive.
Thank you, Councilor Bedrejko. Councilor Camillo?
Hold on, guys. I lost it in the screen here. My screen, there we go. To whom it may concern, my name is Amy Mills, and I live at 28 Eddy Lane. I am writing this letter in support of the Anna Reynolds building renovation project. Not only am I a Newington town resident, but I'm also a staff member at Anna Reynolds. I've worked there for 10 years and have witnessed firsthand how the building is slowly falling apart. There is no question the building is in need of renovations. Despite everyone's best efforts, the building continues to require continual upkeep and repair. Every day, something doesn't work properly. In a time in which health and safety has become #1 priority, it seems like this should be the first priority. We shouldn't wait until there is a serious problem to renovate. I strongly encourage you to support the Anna Reynolds building renovation project. Sincerely, Amy Mills.
Thank you, Councilor Camillo. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you. Melissa and Nicholas Hospiel, 460 Willard Ave, Newington, Connecticut. Hello, good afternoon. I am sending this email to inform you that my husband, Nicholas Hospiel, and I are in favor of the very much overdue and needed renovation of the Anna Reynolds School.
Thank you, Councilor Donahue. Councilor Menke? Councilor Menke, are you there?
You're muted.
Sorry about that. To whom it may concern, I grew up in Newington on Church Street, where we were fortunate to attend the newer schools, John Patterson and John Wallace. I chose to raise my children here, but the home we ultimately purchased is on the opposite side of town in the Anna Reynolds School District. It seemed odd that they would attend that school since we are geographically closer to Chaffee and E. Green, but so it was. Both of my children attended Anna Reynolds from preschool to 4th grade, so we are part of the Anna Reynolds School family for 9 school years, 26 to 27 and 2015 to 2016. During that time, we were fortunate to have Dr. Jeremy Vizone as principal, with an incredible staff delivering the best education possible. Many of the staff that we saw day after day for all those years, hang on a second. There we go, thank you. Are now considered our friends, some of whom are raising their children in town as well. The need for renovation goes beyond repairing a leaky roof. In speaking with my friends who have children in the building and teachers at the school, they have described to me about the poor ventilation system and the old AC units that barely work. Several staff suffering from respiratory illness they feel are related to the poor air quality. Kids who have had to wear hoodies, sweatshirts, or jackets if their seats were not near a window because of how cold they are, and multiple layers of carpet that have been installed over carpet that contains asbestos. I have also heard that water coming up from the gym floor during rainstorms that has to be removed with shop vacs, and of course the multiple leaks in the roof. Just scroll up below it, Jim. Thank you. In addition, the school is multi-level and lacks an elevator or lift for someone who is handicapped. If a class is going to the gym, the student would have to walk around the entire perimeter of the school using adaptive equipment, crutches, or be pushed in a wheelchair because they can't access the gym with their classes due to the stairs. Bathrooms also lack proper and respectful handicap access. Since 2006, When I first stepped foot in Anna Reynolds, very little has been done other than to repair problems. The condition of the school is unacceptable for Newington, and the condition of the building is not equal to the other 3 elementary schools. My understanding is that Anna Reynolds has the largest number of students of the 4 elementary schools. Anna Reynolds has historically had a large number of students living at or below the poverty level, evidenced by the number of students receiving free or reduced lunches. Why is it that this school on the other side of town isn't being given the attention it desperately needs? There seems to be an overwhelming sense in this political environment it is more important to keep taxes down and not spend any money, no matter the cost. We appreciate town councils wanting to keep our taxes down, but at what cost? Making sure the Anna Reynolds building is equitable to all students should be a focus. The building is in dire need of repair, improvements, and upgrades. This isn't just about repairing a leaky roof, it's an investment in our children and the building, and a building falling into disrepair. Sincerely, Colleen Baracchio.
Thank you, Councilor Mann. Next is Councilor Minor.
James, can you move the screen?
Just a moment. They have an attachment to theirs. I just have to get it up onto the screen.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience with the technology.
Can you see the Word document at all?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just want to make it wide enough to, there we go.
Councilor Annis, this one was addressed to you. It's up to you if you want to read it or have Councilor Minor read it.
No, I'll defer it because I know another one was sent in to the council. She sent in 2.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Minor.
Ms. Ines, please read the following into the minutes of your special meeting on Thursday, August 27, 2020. As a two-term member of the Newington Town Council and liaison to the Board of Education, I can certainly attest to the necessity of renovating Anna Reynolds School. We have been patching up the building for what is at least a decade and at great expense. There comes a time when constant repair must yield to complete renovation, and this is that time for Anna Reynolds School. When the Town Hall project was finally moved forward by the council, we all agreed on the evening of August 8, 2017 at the council table that the Anna Reynolds project would be the next on the list of projects to be done. The council members in 2017 were Beth Del Bueno, Gail Bodraco, Tim Mankey, Dave Nagel, Maureen Klett, Carol Ines, Jim Marachini, Diana Cassana, Sarah, and Mayor Roy Zartarian. I know that a few of the councilors are not at the table now, but I would be extremely disappointed if the council members from 2017 who agreed to go forward with the Anna Reynolds project now went back on their word to their residents. I asked the vote to conduct a referendum on November 3rd, 2020 concerning the Anna Reynolds renovation project and approve the related bond ordinance. Thank you. Respectfully, Diana Cassana, Sarah.
Thank you, Councilor Minor. Next is Councilor Nagel. It's probably going to take a second to get the next one up on the screen. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Marcia Brignano, forgive me if I mispronounced your last name, 56 Sleepy Hollow Road. Dear council members, I think the budget for renovation should be approved. My child's school is in need of repairs, and all of the children, teachers, and staff at Anna Reynolds deserve to learn and work in a healthy and safe environment.
Thank you, Councilor Nagel. Councilor Annis.
I will keep this simple. Anna Reynolds needs to be renovated. This is the time of uncertainty indeed, but our children should always be the priority. This is an issue that should not even be a debate. Right now, the issue is, should we send this to referendum? I 100% believe this should go to the people. Not sending to referendum is irresponsible. Please do the right thing by our children and the staff of Anna Reynolds. Best regards, Jennifer Garofalo, 69 Tomlin Road.
Thank you, Counselor Ennis. Counselor Braverman.
Oh,
Hold it, no, you gotta hold it.
okay. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm writing this email in support of the Anna Reynolds project. When my husband and I started looking for our first home, we knew Newington was on the top of our list. We were thrilled to find a house in the Anna Reynolds neighborhood and have absolutely loved our experience thus far. Our oldest daughter started kindergarten at Reynolds and is now moving on to 5th grade. Our middle daughter is a 2nd grader at Anna Reynolds, and in a few years, our youngest will also attend. We were so proud to hear that Anna Reynolds has been named a Blue Ribbon School a few years ago, but we're appalled to hear of the deteriorating conditions of the building. As a former teacher and as a mom, I am fully invested in the education of my children. I believe all our kids will be back in school buildings in the near future and feel they, as well as the hardworking teachers and staff at Anna Reynolds, deserve a building that has a proper roof, adequate ventilation, accessibility, and the updates that come with this renovation project. Oh, okay. All the stories my kids have told me about their time in school, one that sticks out is my daughter's retelling of a day in her music class. She mentioned that it had been hard to read all her music sheet as she was learning to play the violin. This is because the lights had been off. Why were the lights off? The teacher was concerned there was a buzzing sound and potential water leak from the roof that made her question of the safety of turning the lights on. Can you even imagine? This building project is not just a good idea and one that has been a long time coming. It is an absolute necessity for the safety of our children and the chance to give them an amazing building environment to match the superior teachers and staff at one of our best elementary schools in the country. I fully support the project moving forward. Kelly Pinkerton.
Thank you, Counselor Braverman. Counselor Bedrejko.
To whom it may concern, my name is Jeremy Wetzel and I reside at 92 Old Musket Drive. As a member of the Anna Reynolds Building Committee, one of my goals is to try and keep this project from going off the rails financially. When you see the initial $35.5 million price tag, you might feel a little queasy like I did. How are we going to pay for this and for how long? Why is it so expensive to renovate an existing building? And a flood of other questions come to mind. This is a very long-term investment for every taxpayer in Newington, not only now, but for the next 20 years. Care must be taken when considering the price tag of such an endeavor. Conversely, it feels like now is the time to take advantage of lower interest rates and an over 50% state reimbursement rate, putting the cost at a more reasonable $16 million. It's clear that the school needs renovation for multiple reasons: ADA compliance, improved security, healthier air, windows that open and close properly, and a roof that keeps the water out, to name a few. This 50-year-old school needs some TLC. For years, it has seemingly been Band-Aid after Band-Aid, more layers of paint and patch, and a concerted effort by our amazing custodians to keep the school solvent. Our schools are a representation of our priorities as a town, and they should present well and function exceptionally well to complement a strong curriculum and the wonderful staff that support and educate our children. Many have passed through and will pass through these doors while making memories that will last a lifetime. It's up to us here and now to take this opportunity to take action and bring our commitment to our children to fruition. Our town schools and buildings are the public interface of this town. We send our children to these buildings all day. We do town business in these buildings, and services are provided out of these buildings that make this town a great community. Anna Reynolds deserves renovation. I ask for the support of the council, the Board of Ed, and the citizens of Newington in November when this project goes to referendum. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Counselor Bedrejko. Counselor Camillo.
Good afternoon. I'm writing this afternoon in support of the renovation of project at Anna Reynolds Elementary School. I'm not only a parent of a child that is attending the school, but also a civil engineer and have worked in the school renovation field for the past 13 years. Having toured the school back in March It is imperative to the future of our children in Newington that this entire renovation project move forward. The health, safety, equity, and capability of the Newington's next generations is at stake, especially in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. The conditions of the school roof system, the ventilation, the handicapped accessibility, the nurses' quarters, etc., all are severely antiquated and should not be considered serviceable any longer. We owe it to the future. Okay.
No, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
Okay. If the focus is on the cost, having been in the field for 13 years, I have never seen a project become more affordable. The project was proposed a few years ago and was tabled, came back to life, and is now more expensive. However, the project were tabled again. To anticipate the cost due to COVID-19 should be considered significantly higher in the years to come, and the likelihood of the state reimbursement even more at risk as the pandemic continues. We owe it to the future generations of Newington's youth to push this project forward, to give all the Newington children the best possible first step on their path to success. Doing anything else would be a disservice to them and to the Newington as a whole. Thank you for your consideration. Francis J. Vaca, 51 Gilbert Road, Newington, Connecticut.
Thank you, Counselor Camillo. Counselor Donahue?
I am writing in support of for the Anna Reynolds School construction to be put before the town for a vote in November. My twin children are graduates of Anna Reynolds and are currently seniors at NHS. I remember seeing the gym ceiling tiles becoming waterlogged and scattered across the floor in a disgusting mess. That was 10 years ago. Since then, I have seen the rooms of my teacher friends destroyed by leaks and become mold havens. This is not a new problem. And like the multi-million-dollar town hall project, it cannot be addressed with Band-Aids. This puts children with breathing difficulties such as asthma at risk. I am baffled why this was not a town priority before the construction consideration of town hall. We need this referendum in November. You have my permission to read this during the council time. Thank you for your time. Joseph Geisler, 117 Audubon Ave, Newington, Connecticut.
Thank you, Counselor Donahue. Counselor Menke?
Dear council members, I'm running as a parent of 2 children at Newington Public School System. While my children do not go to Anna Reynolds, I think it is vitally important that this school is brought up to the same standards as the other 3 elementary schools in the district. There is enough derision and inequity in the world right now. It's disturbing that this town would put our youngest residents in a position where they do not have access to the same safety and technology standards as their counterparts at other schools. I strongly urge you to put the Anna Reynolds renovation on the ballot in November. Sincerely, Jennifer Pratt, 13 Stewart Street.
Thank you, Counselor Menke. I just want to apologize. I've been turning my video on and off just for those members of the public that are wondering why. My back is bothering me. I'm just standing up and walking a little bit, so I don't want to distract from the reading. So if you see my camera go off, that's all it is. I'm still here. Next is Counselor Minor.
Hello, I am a parent of a kindergartner who will be attending in person learning at Anna Reynolds Elementary. For so many reasons, this is one of the single most difficult decisions I've had to make as a parent. The obvious reason for the difficulty for this reason being the recent challenges imposed by COVID-19. But in reality, there were bigger reasons even before the pandemic. My son was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disorder, IBD, different from IBS or Crohn's disease as of 2019. One of the treatments used is immune suppression, rendering my 5-year-old officially immune compromised, heartbreaking for any parent. At the same time this is happening, a teacher from Anna Reynolds has made the news showing the world what rainy season looks like in her classroom. After seeing this news report, it wasn't difficult to find other examples of the issues and hazards that we as a community are exposing our children to. And then to learn that this project has been put on hold, not only for a few years, but for generations. It's absolutely appalling. How dare we do that to our children as a community? The absolute least we can do for these children is to send the project to referendum in November and allow the community to vote on it. Personally, I feel like it shouldn't even have go that route. With how long these health and safety issues have been ignored or patched and jerry-rigged, we should not be talking about it, if maybe, but as a community outraged that this has not yet been addressed. As the old saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. And like it or not, as part of the same community, we are these children's village. The longer we put off these renovations, the longer we are showing the children, families, and staff of Anna Reynolds Elementary that they are not worth it. They are not worth the upgrades they desperately needed. They are not worth the same approximate $30 million we just spent upgrading the town hall. And quite frankly, if you're willing to tell children's grade K through 4 they are not worth it, then I need to seriously consider changing my village, and quickly. Thank you for your time. Tanya Grabowski.
Thank you, Counselor Minor. Counselor Nagel?
You're
Counselor
muted,
Nagel?
Counselor Nagel.
All right. Is that better?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, sorry. Members of the Town Council, I am writing to strongly encourage you to approve funding for the Anna Reynolds School projects. At the very least, please place this on the November ballot to allow the people to decide on the fate of the project. I am on the back 9 of my children's Newington school education, as my youngest is now a junior at the high school. My children and I attended the Elizabeth Green schools, so we have no direct benefit from these improvements. However, we do place great value on education, and in order to support good education, the facilities need to be, at the very least, safe and comfortable for all who work and/or attend school there. We have been to Anna Reynolds for both music and sports events, practices over the years. While my kids were attending these events, I took the opportunity to walk around a bit, as I had, surprisingly, since I grew up in town, never been in the school before. I was surprised the school had so many issues, and this was back around 2012. I need it moved. There we go. My understanding is that those issues were not even the worst areas that need improvement. For example, non-compliance with ADA requirements, including the nurse's office, is unacceptable. The restroom facilities are in dire need for updating. The growth and water damage cannot be good for children, especially ones with compromising breathing conditions. And the security issues need to be addressed to keep everyone in the building safe.
The upper paragraph was missed, Counselor Nagel.
Which one? The first thing
I noticed.
Okay, the first thing I noticed was how the carpeting was bubbling up in several areas. My first thought was that this was fairly dangerous, and I noticed several stains in the ceiling and cracks on the wall that I figured had been due to leaking. Just these alone do not support a safe learning environment. And education in Newington has always been top-notch, but the current state of Anna Reynolds does not support a safe, healthy learning environment for children. We want to make Newington a place where children will want to raise and educate their families. Not only is that good for the children, but it adds tremendous value to the properties in town. So I urge you to approve funding or place this on the ballot in November to let the people decide. In the end, it's only going to make our town a more desirable location for potential homeowners. Thank you. Colleen Cutrera, 38 Carriage Hill Drive.
Thank you, Counselor Nagel. Counselor Anist?
Dear Newington Town Council, I am writing to share my support for bringing the Anna Reynolds renovation project to a referendum in November. I also ask that you waive the new rules and read this email into the public record. Anna Reynolds has needed a new roof, new bathrooms, a new nurse's office, new security entrances, new hallways, new floors, new windows, and new doors for years. It is the town's best interest to fix all of these problems now rather than doing it incrementally, both in terms of finances and safety. Fixing all the issues now would also be less disruptive to students and teachers. With the COVID pandemic still raging, I'm also concerned about the ventilation of the school, which can be addressed during a complete renovation project. I pray that no one at Anna Reynolds gets injured or ill as a result of the safety hazards and mold growths at the school. How can we take pride in our blue ribbon school when it's falling apart? With the state offering a reimbursement of at least 50% of the project's cost, this renovation might never be as taxpayer-friendly as it is now. May I remind you that you all unanimously voted to bring this renovation to referendum just 2 months ago on June 23rd. Respectfully, thanks, Emily Carl, 54 Cobblestone Court, Newington.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Braverman.
Okay. Okay. To whom it may concern. I'm writing in support of the Anna Reynolds Elementary School renovation project. Considering the issues the school is currently facing, it is more than appropriate to undertake a renovation project from a temporary fixed leaky roof. My young children believe it is normal to squeegee the roof after each time it rains, post-rainstorm worms in the halls, outdated, inefficient heating and ventilation system, including a lack of air conditioning. More importantly, the fact that the school is not handicapped accessible. To maintain property values in our town, we need to maintain our public buildings. If these issues are left to continue to get worse, the only option will not be a renovation project, but likely a far more costly demolition and new construction project, which would come years after costly Band-Aid fixes. Support our property values, support our children's access to safe quality education, support Anna Reynolds Elementary renovation project. Tom Bronson, Maple Hill Avenue.
Thank you, Counselor Braverman. Counselor Bedrejko.
Good afternoon. I won't be able to make the meeting tonight, but I wanted to let you know that I feel it's very important to bring the renovations at Anna Reynolds to referendum. It's been years since my kids have played basketball there, and it was in disrepair then. It cannot be healthy for the teacher or children to be in a building where there's been water leaks and damage that hasn't been fixed. Thank you, Dory Redmond.
Thank you, Counselor Bedrejko. Counselor Camillo.
Mayor Del Buono and the members of the town council. First, I hope this email finds you all well and in good health. As the school year gets underway, it seems the daily pace has picked up exponentially. I am writing to you today with regards to the Anna Reynolds renovation project. As I noted in the past communications, I appreciate the fact that many of us share a common desire to see the blue ribbon winning school be properly renovated after so many years of proverbial can being kicked down the road. As you all know, our schools are one of the features that sets Newington apart from many other neighboring towns. And I am proud to send my 2 children through our school system. The staff are like family to us, with all that they have done to help my children grow and learn. And this is a common story told in town, but part of what helps them in their work and knowing they have a facility to work in that is safe, conducive to teaching and learning. Our boys attend Ruth Chafee and John Wallace. So I am not advocating out of self-interest. Instead, I am advocating for my friends and fellow residents who live in the Anna Reynolds district, who cannot say their children or staff have the same environment support that my children and schools have. Right now, I have an opportunity to stop passing the buck with regards to Anna Reynolds. And either earlier this year, this town council took steps in that direction when you authorized the BOE and our superintendent to move ahead with the preparation of the project specifications with the application for the state aid. This is no doubt that the price tag, $35 million, should cause any of us to balk, especially given the current climate we're living in. What's important for all of us to keep in mind, however, is that this is not the price we would pay. Presently, the state aid would receive between 50 and 58% of the 35 million, placing it within the previous estimate range of about 10 to 21 million. Comparatively, it is a significant difference in cost. What I also saw earlier this spring was that our town manager and council worked with our superintendent on the budget. Things got done. As I understand it, Newington has an excellent bond rating, so we should be able to manage this project without increasing our taxes in a significant manner if we work together, collaborating and creatively once again. I believe the people at the table who were able to balance the budget this year can find a way to make this project work as well. And while at an actual price of 14.7 to 17.5 million is still a lot of money, without doubt, however, I have asked to, can we guarantee that we'll get the same state aid next year for this project or multiple years from now? Republicans and Democrats alike should be able to agree that the odds of that our state will have the funds to do so is a gamble. That isn't in our favor. So if we continue to kick the can down the road, has been done for years now, how much more will we have to pay without promise of state support? I hate to think of what that will do to our taxes comparatively. I understand it is a difficult look at many of these price tags and feel good about them. Times are unprecedentedly tight right now, but what happens if we allow Anna Reynolds to continue to degrade? What if students and our staff become ill as a result of an unsafe environment? What might the cost be in the event of a lawsuit or portions of the school were condemned due to health code violations? Where would we house those classes? I know this isn't something any of you want to see. Sometimes, however, prudent fiscal management means spending a relative smaller amount up front to avoid greater expenditures later. It was encouraging to see both sides of the aisle come together on this issue early in the year, and I hope that this spirit of collaboration continues. Thank you in advance for your continued support of our schools, those who serve our families, and those our neighbors here in town. Respectfully, Forrest C. Helvey, 282 Lamplighter Lane, Newington.
Thank you, Counselor Camillo. Counselor Donahue.
To the Newington Town Council, we are writing in support of the Anna Reynolds renovation project and therefore the support of the project going to referendum. For both the health and safety of Newington students, this project should have been completed years ago. The purpose of this project is completely centered around health and safety, and town residents should be allowed to vote to prove that they support our children. A few points to be considered for the renovation include the following. Current state of the schools. Students and teachers are both at risk for respiratory issues due to mold, poor ventilation, and risk. Nobody wants to think about school shootings, but the lack of double doors in the front of the building was a glaring safety concern when I recently visited. All doors seem to be outdated, with outdated doors, locks, a PA system to be able to notify staff of potential emergencies. We are leaving our children vulnerable to potential intruders who intend to harm. The lack of ADA compliant restrooms and nursing facility is unacceptable. All town-owned buildings should be ADA compliant. Please add our comments to support. Please add our comments and support to the public record. Diane, Marquise, and Leonard Zapor, 46 Evergreen Road, Newington, Connecticut.
Thank you, Counselor Donahue. Counselor Mankey.
Good evening. I'm certain it will come as no surprise to you that I'm writing in favor of the Anna Reynolds project to referendum this November. Many of you are sitting at the table in 2016 and 2017 when the request to form a building committee came from the district. Those requests were rejected by the Republican majority at the time, The main reason given was that we needed to wait until the town hall was completed before even discussing the Anna Reynolds project. To quote Mayor Zatarian at the time, once the town hall referendum is done, all of our attention can go to Anna Reynolds. Since those refusals to move forward, how many more problems were created or got worse? I can understand the hesitation with regard to COVID as expressed in Mayor Del Buono's recent Facebook post. But the simple truth is, financially, this project will likely never be as cost-friendly to our taxpayers as it is right now. The state is making school projects such as this one a priority for state funding. We have to stop coming up with excuses for why we cannot invest in our town and start realizing that having a reputation for refusing to take care of our schools is not going to bring new families or new businesses here. Every time this project gets pushed aside, the end result is more problems arise and more tax dollars are thrown out the window. The project costs will only rise every day we wait, and every day we wait, the school's condition worsens. I would like to remind you of the words of Councilor Maureen Klett in September 2016. This was taken directly from the approved minutes of the September 27th meeting that year. Councilor Klett said that the project had been on the list of renovations for 10 years and indicated if she was a parent, she would not be happy. By my calculation, that equates to 14 years of pushing this project to the side after it was already identified as a renovation need. 14 years worth of parents, students, and teachers and staff who had to walk into a building that is town-owned, that this town already decided was not in an appropriate condition. The condition of the schools undoubtedly has worsened over those 14 years. This is not just a roof issue. This is a classroom issue, an ADA issue, a security issue, an HVAC issue, a windows issue, a flooring issue, a door issue, a gym issue, a nurse's office issue, and an electrical issue. There is no way to even begin to calculate how much money this town has wasted over the last decade plus, not only in terms of what this renovation will cost today, but also in the patchwork maintenance over the last 14 plus years. How much more money will be wasted if we don't act now on this project and its current needs in full, rather than a continued patchwork effort? Lastly, I leave you with the words of Mayor Del Buono as quoted in the Herald on March of this year. We did make a commitment to the town and the school system that once that town hall project was underway, we would make Anna Reynolds a priority. Thank you for your time. Michael Branda, 77 Coronado Drive.
Thank you, Councilor Mackey. Councilor Minor.
I support the Anna Reynolds renovation project going to referendum this November. Thank you, Chris Klatt, 11 Judge Lane, Newington, Connecticut.
Thank you, Councilor Minor. Councilor Nagel.
Good morning. I am writing today in support of the Anna Reynolds project going to referendum this November. The educators and kids at Reynolds deserve better conditions. Having attended Reynolds as a child, I was shocked that not much has changed or been updated since my years there in the 80s. This is unacceptable. Let's give the school the update it is in desperate need of. I would like the rules to be waived and my email be read at the hearing. Thank you, Liz Sudzwaka, 164 Hickory Hill Lane.
Thank you, Councilor Nagel. Councilor Anist.
Dear Town Council, my wife and I would like to express our support for the renovation project of Anna Reynolds. This project is probably 15 years overdue. Please continue to support this project and its advancement. Thank you. William and Linda Blasio, 68 Herald Drive.
Thank you, Councilor Anist. Councilor Braverman.
Okay. I want to voice my support for this project, and I hope to see it on the November ballot. Kathleen Gonzalez, 44 Basswood Street.
Thank you, Councilor Braverman. Councilor Bedrejko.
Hi, my name is Sandra Felicissimo. I reside at 26 Colburn Circle in Newington. My youngest son is new to Anna Reynolds this year and will be in second grade. This week, we took a tour of the school. It is evident that it is a warm, loving school with fantastic staff. It looked welcoming and beautiful. However, having worked in schools for 20 years, I was not happy at how the front entrance didn't have a second set of doors as an extra safety precaution. It definitely needs to be updated in order to keep our children safe. Rounding a corner by the interventionists and resource teachers' rooms, a strong odor hit me. That entire hallway smelled like a musty basement. We entered the next hallway where the sun from the playground area windows was shining into the hallway, and this time it wasn't the odor that hit us, but the heat. There was no air conditioning in that section, and it was hot. Similarly, the cafeteria was also very hot, even though the fans were going. They didn't seem effective. I think the district is doing what they can to keep the school looking like an inviting space to learn, but it's quite obvious that the school is in desperate need of renovations beyond what they are able to mask. It saddens me that there is such inequity between schools, such as the brand new magnet school my child came from and the neighborhood school he will be attending. It worries me that my asthmatic child will be attending a school that smells musty. I would not want to smell that all day. I'm pleading with you that we all continue our plan to renovate Anna Reynolds as soon as possible and give our children the school building they all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Bedrejko. Counselor Camillo.
As Anna Reynolds' parent, voter, and taxpayer in the town of Newington, Connecticut, I support the Anna Reynolds School Building Improvement Project going to referendum. As I cannot attend the upcoming live Zoom meeting, please waive the new rules and read this email into the public record. Thank you. Cami Estorino, 154 Harding Avenue, Newington, Connecticut.
Thank you, Counselor Camillo. Counselor Donahue.
As an Anna Reynolds parent, voter, and taxpayer in the town of Newington, Connecticut, I support the Anna Reynolds School Building Improvement Project going to referendum, as I cannot. You did change the email screen, right?
I did. This is the other spouse.
Oh, okay, sorry. As I cannot attend the upcoming Zoom meeting, please waive the new rules and read this into the email, into the public record. Thank you. Aaron Estronio, 154 Harding Ave, Newington, Connecticut.
Thank you, Counselor Donahue. Counselor Mankey.
Attention Newington Town Council. We have been an Anna Reynolds family for the past 3 years. We had the opportunity to tour the building with Dr. Brummett and Principal Smith, and were very disheartened and concerned to see the dismal conditions that the staff and children have to endure on a daily basis. The following words were adapted from a conversation with our daughter regarding her impressions of the current strengths and challenges of her AR experience. I really like how the teachers are kind and help the kids when they feel like they want to give up. Mr. Smith is a really good principal because he helps us stay safe and learn. I feel frustrated, mad, and sad when I see wet, dripping roof tiles. I've seen the gym ceiling damage, and I feel like there's a lot of dust when I take wellness class. The school and the people in it are very special to me. We should take better care of it to keep it clean. Martinez family, 265 Maple Hill Avenue.
Thank you, Counselor Mankey. Counselor Minor.
I'm in favor of the Anna Reynolds Renovate as New project. The Anna Reynolds School building is in great disrepair and has been for far too long. Anyone who has taken a tour of the building knows that this renovation is long past due. Regardless of second thoughts, the town council has already voted to go to referendum, knowing that this renovation is very much needed and the right thing to do for the children, teachers, and families in our community who rely on this building. Using COVID as an excuse to back out of this project is a shameful disservice to our community and children. Comparing this project to town hall renovation issues is irresponsible and irrelevant. These are very different projects which provide very different services. The committee worked diligently along with the superintendent to be fiscally responsible and to make sure all protocols were followed to ensure a successful completion without incident. The project is conservatively designed and budgeted, as well as planned to be reasonably accomplished in our present climate. Additionally, the cost to complete this renovation as it is lowest right now, at least half of which has been confirmed to be reimbursed from the state. The cost of this renovation is predicted to only increase if the project is tabled. It is fiscally irresponsible for the town council to delay this project. All the other Newington elementary schools have been renovated as new. It's now time for Anna Reynolds. We need town-wide educational equity, and Anna Reynolds students and staff deserve to be in a building that isn't patched together piecemeal. Honestly, as a resident, when I took my tour of the building, I was embarrassed that we, as a town, have settled for one of our schools to be in such poor condition. The project needs to proceed as planned. Cindy Stam.
Thank you, Counselor Minor. Counselor Nagel.
Good afternoon. I just want to say that I am in favor of renovating the school as new. As a longtime Newington resident, one of the primary reasons I moved back in town was because I wanted my kids to have a great education. Both of my daughters attended Anna Reynolds, so it's difficult for me to see the school in the condition that it is. Being involved with the Cub Scouts and our Parks and Rec programs for the past decade, I was at Anna Reynolds 2 to 3 days a week, but last visited there about 3 years ago. It was in pretty rough shape back then, so I can only imagine now. Please do right by the kids, the staff in town, and make it a great new Newington school again. Thank you. J. Andrew Whedon, Director of Service Automated Business Solutions, 415 Kilvert Street, Warwick, Rhode Island.
Thank you, Counselor Nagel. Counselor Anist.
Hello, my name is Ivan Tashik, and I live at 76 Harold Drive, Newington. I would just like to say that I'm in favor of the Anna Reynolds renovate as a new project. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you, Counselor Anist. Counselor Braverman.
There's an address. I support repairing Anna Reynolds School. No school should fall apart. From Lisa at 101 Harold Drive.
Thank you, Counselor Braverman. Counselor Bedrejko.
That's it.
Hello, I'm writing to express my support for referendum this November on the Anna Reynolds renovation requirements. I ask that the rules be waived and my letter read into the record at the hearing. Although my children are fully grown, I fully support providing children with a safe and inspiring school where they can safely learn and grow to eventually become full contributors to a decent and just society. Thank you for your consideration. Amy Ronseca, 144 Camp Avenue.
Thank you, Counselor Bedrejko. Counselor Camillo.
Okay. Additionally, I would like to ask the rules be waived and you read my previous letter into the record at the hearing. Thank you, Amy Berube, 172 Indian Hill Road, Newington.
James, are we continuing on with her letter?
I didn't find an additional one for her, so unless we have it separate in one of the other emails that weren't included.
I think it was just a letter to go back and say, because she didn't say in the first one to read it into the public record.
We've actually been reading them even if it wasn't indicated.
I have her letter. I have her letter in front of me on my email. I can read it right now very quickly, just because that's kind of one email together. It says, I am writing to voice my support to the Anna Reynolds project going to referendum this November. Both of my children attended between the years of 2008 and 2020. Work was badly needed in the building in 2008 when my son started kindergarten, and there was no improvement in 2015 when my daughter started. In my opinion, the school is leaning towards being an unhealthy place to spend an extended period of time, and I'm happy my children no longer attend classes there. But what about all the kids that still do attend and the staff who definitely deserve better? Thank you, Amy Berube, 172 Indian Hill Road, Newington. Counselor Camillo, you're next. I'm sorry, Counselor Donahue.
Town council members, I'm writing in behalf of myself and my husband in full support of the proposed renovation project. Our daughter recently completed her elementary school education there with a wonderful staff, and our son is currently a student. Not only do the children of Newington deserve a safe, updated building to learn, but teachers like Ms. Merrick, Ms. Rodriguez, Sumi Rodriguez, Ms. Coltera, Mrs. Keener, Mrs. Byron, Mrs. Boudreau, Mrs. Schumacher, Mr. Gallup, Mrs. Gallup, Mrs. Marino, and of course, Mr. Smith and all of our wonderful staff who dedicate time to our children. Thank you for moving this project onward. Jen and Marco Torillo, Dowd Street, Newington, Connecticut.
Thank you. Counselor Menke?
To whom it may concern, my husband and I do not have children in the Newington school system yet, but moved on to this town in hopes of our children having a wonderful education. We are appalled to learn of the conditions of A&R in recent stories and saw it in the tour a few months ago. There is no excuse for this. How has every other elementary school been updated except for this one? And why has it taken so long for A&R to get updated and renovated? The concern is for the water damage and health issues that will issue from this. This is absolutely disgraceful and needs to be fixed. If it is not fixed, our children and all staff who work there are the ones who suffer. Regardless of your policy or intentions to only do one update to this town at a time, this surely should take priority and count as job 1, 2, and 3. Take politics out of it. These are our children and ultimately affect their extra education. We do not need any more issues than COVID is already having in our children. This is not what we moved here for. Please, please, please get this done. Elise and Mike Spala.
Thank you, Counselor Menke. Counselor Minor?
And I did find that Amy Berube, that's this one shown on the screen, that'll be part of the minutes as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kropinski.
Dear Newington Town Council, I support the Anna Reynolds project going to referendum this November. Both of my daughters go to Anna Reynolds Elementary School, and I agree that it is a great school, but is the oldest in town and last to be renovated. It is needed for the health and safety of all at the school. My address is 82 Michael Lane, Newington, Connecticut. Joanne Castulli.
Thank you, Counselor Minor. Counselor Nagel?
To whom it may concern, I highly support the Anna Reynolds project going to referendum this November. It is extremely important for our town as well as all of our children attending this school, my daughter included. She's just starting her journey this school year, and it is so important that Anna Reynolds is safe for our kids. Thank you. Jenna Dubois, 50 Spruce Street.
Thank you, Counselor Nagel. Counselor Annist?
Hello, my name is Robert Golden. I live at Newington at 960 Willard Avenue, and I support the Anna Reynolds project going to referendum this November. Best regards, Robert.
Thank you, Counselor Annist. Counselor Braverman?
It's Amy. To whom it may concern, my name is Teresa Martins, and I live at 44 Wells Drive North. I currently have one child in Anna Reynolds and there's 2 as of last year. While you're in support of the renovation project moving forward to be voted on in November, please feel free to reach out. Best, Teresa.
Thank you, Counselor Braverman. Counselor Bradraco?
Hello, my name is Kristen Kuna, and I live at 32 Pebble Drive here in Newington. My kids go to John Patterson and John Wallace. I'm writing this to show my support for renovations to Anna Reynolds and hope that it will be a ballot question in November. I come from a city in Massachusetts that pushed the renovations of their own schools further and further down the line, and now it would be a $150 million project to replace just one school. Now the city cannot afford that, and the students continue to suffer. I would hate to see that happen to this wonderful town. When one of our schools suffer, we all do. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bradraco. Counselor Camillo?
Dear Sir or Madam, although I'm not a parent of Anna Reynolds student, my children attend John Patterson and John Wallace. I'm writing to express my full support of Anna Reynolds project and my sincere hope that this issue will be presented to the Newington voters via referendum in November. All children in this town deserve a safe and healthy building in which to learn. I have been inside the Anna Reynolds building, and it is in dire need of renovations. Please let the voters decide. Respectfully, Sandra L. Snaden, 67 Coles Avenue, Newington.
Thank you, Counselor Camillo. Counselor Donahue.
Dear council members, Ms. Beth Del Buno, Town Mayor, regarding Anna Reynolds repair. Both of my children attended Anna Reynolds, and we have such fond memories of the outstanding educational experience at the school. In my opinion, quality of life in Newington to a great extent is directly determined by the educational experience we offer to the current and future town residents. It would therefore be prudent to initiate complete and necessary repairs to the school infrastructure while collecting the 50 to 58% cost share of the state of Connecticut. Postponing it will potentially cost the town more due to inflation, risk of potential decreased cost sharing by the state of Connecticut, and potential decrease in property values and our town's ranking due to a marginalized school infrastructure at Anna Reynolds. Postponing much needed repairs and upgrades will also diminish the student experience and the staff's motivation to do the job performance at Anna Reynolds. In my opinion, it will be smart and cost effective not to delay or postpone this project. I strongly propose this should be cited by town residents and let them form an opinion and express their decisions via the ballot come November. I'm also requesting that my opinion on this matter be entered in the public record and read out loud during the scheduled public meeting on August 27th, 2020. Sam Sharma, 28 Hillcrest Ave.
Thank you, Counselor Donahue. Counselor Menke.
Nicole Ribeiro, 270 Robbins Avenue. I'm writing to let you know I support Anna Reynolds Renovate as new to go to referendum and be on the ballot in November. The issues in the school go beyond the roof. The building reno has been put off too long. I think now is the time, get it approved, and if we all go back to remote learning, use the time to get as much done as possible since more can be done with no students in the building. Show the community the pride we take in our schools and renovate Anna Reynolds. Thank you. Nicole Rubino.
Thank you, Counselor Menke. Counselor Minor.
Concerning the proposed renovation of Anna Reynolds School, I feel that now is not a good time to add to the tax burden of our citizens. With the uncertainty of where and how our children will be attending classes in the future, it would make more sense to wait until we know more before committing to spending such a large amount of money at this time. We can repair what is needed for now, then proceed at a later date with the rest. Diane Carney, 25 DeCosta Drive, Newington.
Thank you, Counselor Minor. Counselor Nagel.
In regards to the Anna Reynolds referendum, I support this project going to referendum. I would you to waive the new rules and read my email into the public record. Jim Perotti, 175 Hillcrest Avenue, Newington.
Thank you, Counselor Nagel. Counselor Anist.
Please read this email letter for the record. Dear Mayor and Town Council, I support the AR renovation going to referendum. Anna Reynolds Elementary School needs to be renovated and our town needs to be able to provide the means necessary. One of the reasons I chose the town of Newington to raise my children is because of the school system. I have 3 children, one of which is currently attending the Anna Reynolds. She's vice president of the school and is compassionate about the fact that her school needs to be updated. She would love to come speak about her school's declining conditions. My daughter comes home often telling me about the garbage cans full of water in the hallways and the ceilings leaking in her friends' and teachers' classrooms. I know many of these issues have been brought to public light lately, so I don't feel that I need to go into a large amount of detail. But the issues, aside from the leaks and roof that stand out to me, concern me, also include a few other things. The nurses' station and many bathrooms within the schools are not ADA compliant, not to mention they're from the 1950s. In this day and age, it's unheard of not to be accommodating of all children, parents, grandparents, and even teachers. Of course, older facilities contain asbestos, and it is my understanding that asbestos is okay as long as it's not disturbed. I question whether it's truly undisturbed if things are leaking and falling apart on top of and around these areas. The failing PA system is a scary situation. Most schools and facilities use this as main communication method, especially in emergencies. Since the school is outdated, are the classroom windows and doors equipped with the proper self-locking methods the office can control or other schools in the area are? Is there anything in place that would contain or lock an intruder in a specific area? Long story short, the school needs updating for many reasons. Please, as a community, we strive to give these children the tools to focus on schoolwork, i.e. providing breakfast, lunches, parental involvement, but the school building deteriorating around them inhibits all the good things that are already in place. It is my understanding that air quality tests are performed often and the school is deemed safe, but the school still sells musty and the children and parents worry. It's a shame we, as a town, have let this blue ribbon school get to this failing condition, but it's time that something is done. I have 2 other children who will be coming through Anna Reynolds. One will be a kindergarten next year, and knowing this is an active issue makes me very apprehensive and nervous. Please let me know if you have any questions or if I can be assistance. Thank you for your time. Brittany Nascimento, 175 Dowd Street.
Thank you, Counselor Hillis. Counselor Braverman. Counselor Braverman, your mic is
Last
muted.
year. My son Riley started kindergarten at Anna Reynolds in 2019. He soothed any fear, however, by excelling at the school. He made friends, he made art bulletin board twice. He came home every other day excited to share the new facts he learned. And he reads his bedtime stories to me at night now. He's reading, he's learning, and he's so proud to be a part of his school. There's a reason Anna Reynolds was named the Category 1 school in the Next Generation Accountability Rankings. There are a lot of reasons, actually. There's a team of fantastic teachers led by a passionate principal. There's a culture that preaches social, emotional learning and kindness and celebrates reading and STEM, roughly 480 kids who show up and try their best every day. But they're doing it in spite of a building that is not conducive to learning and in some instances downright unsafe. And in these unprecedented times, as an airborne virus is ravaging across the country and changing literally everything, that's downright unacceptable. Last year, my son walked to his specials and had to navigate around trash cans, collecting water in the hallways from the ceiling leaks that popped up every day. A roofing company was out weekly patching the 35-year-old roof, and the custodial staff was forever replacing tiles. While the administration was proactive about ventilating, ventilating the school every day and conducting air quality tests regularly, frankly, an unfortunate distraction from what they should have been doing, which is educating the children in the largest elementary school in town. You have to assume with major leaks throughout the school, that musty smell was indicative of mold somewhere. Do you think custodians should be replacing ceiling tiles this year or sanitizing bathrooms multiple times a day to keep my kids safe? Should Mr. Smith be touring the building looking for safety hazards or handling the education and mental health and wellness of 2 in-person cohorts and a population distance learning while making incredibly difficult up-to-the-minute decisions? Should teachers be moving trash cans around to catch leaks or juggling 10 kids in person, 10 kids at home, in person and remote curricula, not to mention their own personal circumstances and schedules? Should parents have to worry about poor ventilation or ceiling leaks, or can we focus on getting our children and our families through this incredibly difficult time? Because we know that our town leaders actually have our children's best interests at heart and are going to give them a safe, healthy school as soon as possible. Anna Reynolds is a fantastic school filled with exceptional teachers, staff, and programs. I'm so proud of the work that's being done inside the walls of Anna Reynolds. I wish I was proud of the school too, but I can't say that. I'm embarrassed because of the many, many flaws in that school. And the 480 kids deserve better. Those teachers are giving their all every day in spite of the circumstances they're working in, and they deserve better. I know COVID has wreaked havoc on everything, including town budgets, but that's not an excuse for pushing off a project that would be heavily reimbursed by the state and that has pushed off far too long already. We need to get the ball rolling on this project by putting it to referendum in November. Will residents vote it down? I don't know, and I certainly hope not. They deserve the right at least to get the chance to make that decision. I sat through several town council meetings this past year and watched, pleased as can be, as every single one of you voted to move this project forward and proclaim that the time has come and it's critical that this renovation happen. To see that some of you are backing off on those statements and considering not moving forward is incredibly disappointing. You'd be hard pressed to find a parent in town that is not anxious about what this year will bring and how our kids will tolerate the circumstances they're in. Please don't make us worry about our kids being in an unsafe environment for years to come. Do the right thing, give my son and 3-year-old daughter a school we can be proud of. Caitlin Bailey O'Neill, Avery Road, Newington.
To whom it may concern, my wife and I have been residents in Newington for just over 10 years. In my 10 years living in this town, property taxes, residents, and automotive have only increased. The neighborhood my family lives in requires my children to attend Anna Reynolds Elementary School. In fall of 2020, my first child will begin her education as a kindergartner at Anna Reynolds. My second child will likely start her education there in the fall of 2022. The project to renovate Anna Reynolds Elementary School is, in my opinion, one of the most important projects this town is considering, and it must be approved and completed. It is not a matter of whether or it should be done or not. The school is clearly in need of major renovations. If I'm going to continue to see my taxes increase year over year, at least I will have the satisfaction of knowing what they paid for. The project to renovate Anna Reynolds School has my full support and should go to referendum in the fall. The people that ultimately pay the cost of the project should have the right to vote on how our money is spent. I approve you waiving the new rules and would like you to read this email into the public record. Anthony Del Mastro, 82 Gilbert Road.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Draco. Councilor Camillo?
To whom it may concern, my wife and I have been residents in Newington for the past 10 years. This is the same letter we just read. We just read that letter.
Give me 1 second. Let me just double check something. Yeah, you are correct. I can't figure out why that second one is in there. Here's the updated one.
Town Council, I am not in favor of the 35 million renovation project for Anna Reynolds School. Let's prioritize what needs to be fixed and deal with it. Our school budget is extremely high as it is, and the residents that do not have children or ones who have grown up have done their share in paying for schools. After the recent town hall expense, surely we need to break from raising our taxes anymore and forcing lifelong residents to relocate in order to survive. Enough is enough. Take a breather from the sky-high spending. I've raised my kids and grandchildren through the Newington schools, but when retired, we live on a fixed income now, and unlike other towns, our taxes are not capped at senior level. Where are we here? Thank you for reading. Sandra Charlin, Newington resident.
Thank you, Councilor Camillo. Councilor Donahue?
Dear Town Council, please read this for the record on August 27th, 2020 at the public hearing. Amy Doe of 175 Hillcrest Ave. I'm writing in support of the Anna Reynolds renovation project going to referendum this year. The school needs more than a new roof and some upgrades. The extensive list of needed repairs and required upgrades has been well documented. I feel it is now time to get started. With state reimbursement of 50 to 58% is available now, we don't know if the same offer will be available later. Fixing items individually will take even longer, and the proposed renovation could end up costing the town even more than a renovation as new done now. Please vote to approve this project for the referendum in November. Thank you, Amy DeVoe.
Thank you, Counselor Donahue. Counselor Menke.
Excuse me. Hello, my name is Eric Gilbert. I reside on Willard Avenue in Newington. I'm running today to voice my opinion and on the Anna Reynolds renovation project. $35 million is a rather steep price tag in this time. Even though there are hopes that the state will reimburse 50% of the cost, it is, however, unlikely that this will happen now post-COVID-19, especially since the governor has signaled that municipalities will need to be prepared for state spending cuts toward towns and cities in the next year's budget. That being said, from my understanding of the problem, an issue of public health as the damage done would potentially cause poor air quality for students and teachers. It is my feeling that perhaps to only renovate what absolutely needs to be renovated in order to mitigate detrimental health effects that could potentially be caused to students and hold off on other planned renovations until after the state and towns recover economically from the impact of COVID-19. Or option two would be to close the school, redistrict the schools, and send the children to one of the nearby elementary schools. In my feeling, that's something needs to be done, although doing everything wished for at this time seems infeasible and a financial folly for the town. Thank you, Eric Gilbert.
Thank you, Counselor Menke. Counselor Minor.
To the members of the town council, first I'd like to thank you for your continued support of the Anna Reynolds building project. Your votes to move this project forward thus far are very much appreciated. As you know, this renovation is long overdue. You have taken the tours, seen the videos, listened to members of the public, and approved the request from our superintendent and Board of Education. Please continue your support of this project by voting in favor of adding the Anna Reynolds renovating as a project as a referendum item on the November ballot to let the voters decide. Our students deserve to be happy, healthy, and safe environment to learn and grow as they continue to create wonderful elementary school memories. Once again, I urge you to vote in favor of bringing this issue to referendum in November so we can get this blue ribbon school up to par with the rest of the elementary schools in the district. I'm requesting you waive the rules and read this letter into the public record. Thank you, Carol Dugan, 17 Dover Road.
Counselors, I'm noticing that letter was not on our list, so we'll just continue on in the same order we've been going. Next is Counselor Nagel.
Dear council members, I encourage you to move the renovation of Anna Reynolds School along. I have two older daughters who have attended Anna Reynolds and a younger one soon to be a student. Years ago, it was showing its age. I'm worried about its present condition. Our children are our future. Let's take care of them as well as the staff who teach there. Sincerely, Robert J. Martinchek, Jr., 30 Kinnear Avenue.
Thank you, Counselor Nagel. Counselor Innist.
Dear Mayor Deputy, members of the Newington Town Council, I respectfully ask that you and the members of the Town Council strongly consider my support of moving the Anna Reynolds School renovation project to referendum and to waive the new rules. You have my permission to have my email to be read into the public record. Sincerely, Mark France, 288 Williamstown Court.
Thank you, Counselor Innist. Counselor Braverman.
The Anna Reynolds renovation program get started immediately. It is crucial that this project go to the referendum and not be pushed off to 2021, especially in this time of COVID. This school needs to be ready to receive students in a safe manner. I hope this will be read into the public hearing on August 27th. Thank you, Patricia Lang.
Thank you, Counselor Braverman. Counselor Bedrejko.
Dear ladies and gentlemen of the Newington Town Council, I'm writing to support the Anna Reynolds School Upgrade Project. I'm a lifelong Newington resident who has always appreciated the Newington school system. I have also had the opportunity to visit each of the Newington schools in a professional capacity. Each of the 7 schools has their own unique outstanding qualities. With that being said, it's obvious that Anna Reynolds is long overdue for an upgrade. If I'm correct, Anna Reynolds has the largest population at the elementary level, and I believe that the building needs to grow to be accommodating. I don't feel that this request is unreasonable, and it's time for Anna Reynolds to get the attention it's so very deserving of. Sincerely, Katie Kelleher.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bedrejko. Counselor Camillo.
Newington Town Council, Anna Reynolds School needs your support. The proposed renovations, improvements will provide Newington students with a facility that is equivalent to what other students throughout the Newington currently have. Being a former town employee, I have had the opportunity to have full access to all the Newington schools in Anna Reynolds. By far, does not compare to the other facilities. The proposed improvements will provide a safe, healthy, and inclusive environment for students to learn. Our educators are the best in the state, and our students and staff deserve and have the best environment to learn. As a Newington taxpayer, I am in full support of this project. Respectfully, David Woods.
Thank you, Counselor Camillo. Counselor Donahue.
Hi, I am writing in favor of moving the Anna Reynolds renovation project to referendum as submitted. I think given the cost and availability the reimbursement of a large portion of the project would be better than submitting it in multiple phases. A phased project would likely drive overall costs going up. This was similar to what occurred with the town hall, which initially a phased renovation until it was determined it was not going to work. Some of you may recall the town hall being slated for renovation in one form or another since Paul Featherstone was a town manager after Keith Chapman retired. While $35 million is a lot of money to renovate an existing building, Rocky Hill recently built a 70K square foot school for $37 million last year. I don't think Newington already owns any existing plots of land that could be used, and believe this was already reviewed as part of the renovation project. Maybe a portion of the acreage at the school sits on could be sold for development to help offset some of the bonded cost. Thanks, Michael Phelps, 108 Tremont Street.
Thank you, Counselor Donahue. James, is that the end of the letters?
That is the end of our submitted letters that we have.
There are 2 on the list that we didn't hit. Mark France and Patricia Lang.
We did both of those.
I read one.
Okay.
Okay.
Check on my list.
I'm just going to double check our participants window to see if anyone else has their hand raised. One last shot. We'll just give it a moment. There are currently no members of the public that are attending that have their hand raised. So we will move on. James, what is the rest of our business in terms of the public hearing? Or are we ready to move on to the next?
Well, at this point, it would be adjournment, although I do see Mr. Mink. Oh, no, he's taking his hand down. Now it would be adjournment and moving to the special meeting to discuss the comments that have been received during the public hearing and going forward.
Okay. Counselor Menke, did you need to say something?
Yeah, I did. I just want to apologize for my and maybe some of the other councilors for our lack of coherency in reading some of these letters. It's always difficult to read somebody else's work. So we probably all read through them once already. It is difficult to read someone else's work. So I'm glad the public bear with it.
Thank you. So just for the public's knowledge, we are going to be starting our next meeting, which is a special meeting of the town council. The agenda items are to discuss the information that was shared at this public hearing. We are going to stay in the same webinar that we are currently in, so there's no need to sign out and sign back in if you want to attend the next meeting. It will be in the same venue that we're in right now. We are going to take just a 5-minute recess, and then we will call back to order. So I need to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Camillo, seconded by Counselor Donahue. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you, everyone. Just a reminder, counselors, to mute your mics and turn off your video if you wish. Counselors, when you are ready, if you could turn your video on just for the moment, just so I know everybody's present before we get started, in case anybody's taking a break. I would greatly appreciate it. And we'll wait until everybody is present. All right, I'm just looking to see which counselors are with me. I see everyone on screen except Counselor Nagel. Are you there? Counselor Donahue and Counselor Minor.
I'm here.
I see Donahue, Nagel. Chris, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, deal. We're all present and accounted for, so I believe we are ready to go ahead and move into our next special meeting. So let me just get my screen ready. All right, folks, I would like to call the special meeting of the Newington Town Council to order at 9:22 p.m. Thank you for your patience and bearing with us. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll start this meeting with a roll call, please.
Counselor Anist,
Here.
Counselor Braverman, Counselor Draco,
Here.
Counselor Camillo,
Here.
Counselor Donahue,
Here.
Counselor Mankey,
Here.
Counselor Minor,
Here.
Counselor Nagel,
Here.
Mayor Del Buono.
Here. Counselor Braverman, are you with us as well?
She's muted.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. So everyone is present. Here we go. All right. The first item on our agenda this evening is public participation. Any member of the public may participate either by using the raise hand function if they're participating in the Zoom app, or by dialing *9 to raise their hand if they are calling in to the Zoom meeting. I'm going to give it just a moment because the broadcast does have a little bit of a delay, so we'll give it a few seconds to see if anyone raises their hand. Okay, I don't have any members of the public raising their hand right now. So we will go ahead and move on. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone did just raise their hand. Mr. Fox, if you could identify yourself, name and address for the record, and unmute your mic, you're with us. Yourself, name and address for the record, and unmute your mic, you're with us.
Okay. Okay.
Mike, turn down your TV, please.
Mike J. Fox, 1901 Main Street, Newington. Not to say anything.
Mr. Fox, we're having trouble hearing you. Mr. Fox, are you there? Are you there, Mike? Are you there, Mike?
Yeah.
Are you there, Mike?
I think so.
Mike, you need to just turn down whatever you're listening on. That's the problem. We're hearing feedback.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
There we are.
I'm sorry. I'm too old to be technologically proficient. So anyway, Michael J. Fox, 1901 Main Street. And I'm not going to say anything that you haven't heard. I just want to let you know once again that I do support the renovation project for Anna Reynolds, and I do hope that it goes to referendum, and I also hope that it passes. So good luck to you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. All right, I don't see any other members of the public with their hand raised, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is remarks by counselors on public participation. I don't see any counselors with their hands up, so we will continue on to consideration of old business. The first item is Anna Reynolds Elementary School renovations project and discussion on public hearing comments for the bond resolution. So I will open the floor to council comment. Counselor Minor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to address two comments that were made. I believe one was Mr. Phelps and the other was Mr. Hagerty. And the comments were regarding new construction and the costs per square foot, trying to compare it to the Town Hall Community Center project. It's much easier for Colliers to determine a renovation cost per square foot because this type of construction as a renovate as new is a standard for the Department of Education. So their ability to validate the construction cost currently is much more accurate than that of it is new construction. The second thing that was considered as we had the building committee was the reimbursement rates for renovate as new is substantially higher than that of new construction. So the net cost to the taxpayers and residents of the town of Newington by those values would essentially be less in a renovate as new, even though the cost of new construction might be lower. So that's, I think, something that's very important to consider. And the other thing that I believe Mr. Phelps identified Rocky Hill as a comparison to building a new 70,000 square foot building for, I believe he referenced 30 or 31 million, is that district to district has different reimbursement rates based on the demographics of the district. So that's another thing that needs to be considered. And that was also validated by Colliers doing their prerequisite work for the estimation that I believe has gone through several cycles of estimating to vet their true cost on what they believe it is currently. So I just want to make those remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Minor. I just want to remind everyone that the members of the Board of Education Committee and presenters from earlier are also in the call. So if there are any direct questions you'd like to ask, they hopefully are still available and willing to answer our questions. Councilor Donahue.
Yeah, I just wanted to also make a comment on a couple of things that we heard in the public hearing was the fact that we need to get on this as soon as possible, which I agree. However, this isn't it's going to pass referendum, but we're not going to start construction until sometime in 2022, according to the schedule that Colliers had put up earlier. The other thing and a concern of mine is, of course, the cost. But with that said, I still believe that, the people should decide on if we renovate the school or not.
Thank you, Councilor Donahue. Further council comment? Okay. I will just make a couple of statements. So there were some references made to the Facebook post that I had put up earlier in the week, and I just wanted to address that a little bit without going into great detail. What I was trying to do was to get some input from our residents kind of across the board. So I felt like we, all of us did take a tour of the Anna Reynolds building, and every single counselor had concerns about what we saw, and that's without a doubt. Mr. Branda made reference to a comment that I made previously where I said that we would make Anna Reynolds a priority, and I still stand by that. Anna Reynolds is a priority. The only question we have right now is that we do have other facilities in need as well. So we need to prioritize all of our facilities. And so, yes, Anna Reynolds is a priority. Our children are a priority. I know when I went for the tour, I do have asthma and my children have asthma. And it was concerning to me, the musty smell that I noticed in the building as well. And I was trying to imagine being a teacher in that building, and being an educator myself, I would have been very concerned if I was working in that building. So I'm not questioning at all, just for the record, that there are needs in this building that we absolutely have to address. That is without question. My only concern right now, really, or my primary concern is the $35 million price tag that's before us. And my concern with that is that we don't know, as one of the speakers earlier mentioned, what our funding will be from the state next year. And so, it's a double-edged sword. Right now, I think that we have a better chance of getting a state reimbursement on this project if we go ahead right now. And so for that reason, I think it makes sense to move ahead with the project if possible. And you'll notice when we get to the bonding resolution, the language that we incorporated, this council did talk about the fact that, the 35 million is a bit of a concern. And so we wanted to cap the amount of bonding that we go out for. And so the language will reflect that when we get to that at 17.75 million in the hopes that we get at least 50% reimbursement from the state. It does seem more likely that if we go out now that is something that could happen. The concern is that with municipal funding perhaps being cut next year, we're being kind of warned of that. It is a scary thing to think of next year and how we're going to balance our budgets and make things work. And so we just have to be conscious of that and know that if we put this project forward, that there are going to be other needs that we need to address, and we're going to have to find ways to do that. And if we aren't able to bond further because of our constraints in that regard, then we're going to have to look at other ways of raising funds or not funding other things in order to fund, certain needs. This council did authorize a facilities study. Unfortunately, the results will not be back until hopefully we're anticipating November at this point. COVID did put a bit of a delay in the folks being able to get into our buildings and do what they need to do to give us an adequate report. So we are waiting for formal findings from the facilities study. And so that is just one more little bit of a reservation in my head that we don't know what other facilities may need. And so, these are just all things that we all need to be cognizant of and understand as we consider moving this project forward. As I mentioned earlier, I believe that there are many needs in this building that need to be addressed. And I didn't mean to minimize that in my post. I was really just looking for some feedback from the entire town in terms of the people that we represent on this council. It really is the whole town that we represent. And so hoping that we get some feedback from all those involved, and really a referendum will allow us to do that, because obviously everyone would have the opportunity to vote. I see Councilor Menke, you have your hand up, so I'll yield the floor.
Should we read the resolution to waive the reading of the resolution of the bond?
Well, right now we're still at the item number 1 is the discussion. So we're able to discuss if we'd like to before reading that, if there's any more discussion.
Well, I have some questions, but they probably will come in on when we get to the actual bond language.
Okay.
Or we can do it now if it's easier. I guess
That's fine. You can go ahead and read that in if you'd like, and then we can continue the discussion.
Resolved. The Newington Town Council hereby waives the reading of the entire resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing an Appropriation of $35.5 million for the Anna Reynolds Elementary School renovation project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $17,750,000, and the use of the grants and such other sources of funds, as well as establishing a date for a referendum, and hereby incorporates its full text into the minutes of the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
So the motion was made by Councilor Menke and seconded by Councilor Anist. So now we can continue to discuss the bond resolution that's on the table.
I just had a couple of questions. Maybe someone on the committee could help me with, or the superintendent or someone from Colliers. Has this
Mayor?
Yes.
Right now, we're simply on the waiver to read the resolution.
Okay.
Completely. When we get to the actual bond language, which is the next motion.
That was my point. Okay, thank you.
So we'll do the roll call.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, Susan?
Counselor Anist?
Yes.
Counselor Bragerman?
Yes.
Counselor Budrago?
Yes.
Counselor Camillo?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Menke?
Yes.
Counselor Minor?
Yes.
Counselor Nagel,
Yes.
Mayor Del Buono.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Okay, thank you. So we are waiving the reading of the bond ordinance, and we will supply the full text in lieu of reading the entire thing. All right, so now we're on to item number 3, which is to adopt the bond ordinance, set referendum date November 3rd, 2020, and authorize the creation of explanatory text and other printed materials, subsection 9-369B. All right, I'm sorry, I'm flipping through my pages. I apologize.
Motion is on the screen, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, counselors, who would like to read this in for us?
I'll read it.
Counselor Anist?
The Newington resolved, the Newington Town Council hereby moves to adopt the foregoing resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing an Appropriation of $35 million for the Anna Reynolds Elementary School Renovation Project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $17,750,000 and the uses of grants and such other sources of funds, as well as establishing a date for a referendum and hereby schedules a referendum date of November 3rd, 2020.
Second.
You're muted, Mayor.
Seconded by Counselor Minor, and discussion on this matter. Counselor Minor.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, you can go ahead and I'll yield the floor for now.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Nagel?
It's just a matter of what the the resolution amount for appropriation actually is. Counselor Annis, maybe by mistake, didn't read it as listed here. Is it $35,500,000 or $35 million?
$35,500,000.
Okay, I thought you left the 500 out, so just to make certain we're all on the same page. Thank you, Carol.
All right, any other council question or comment regarding this? Deputy Mayor Bedrejko?
Yes, it's very obvious that Anna Reynolds can't continue to operate in the condition that it's in. There's just so much that needs to be done. However, I think the cost of it kind of took some of us by surprise. But given, the amount that needs to be done, well, it is what it is. I think that, people in the public have got to understand that if somebody can support public education, but it doesn't mean that they can't turn a blind eye to asking questions about costs and financing. And I believe that's what, has come up, particularly like, as Mayor Del Buono said, it's just a question of, that's our job as town councilors, to have proposals or projects in front of us and to kind of pull them apart and question. It doesn't mean that we don't support things in theory or in practice, but it's doing our job and doing our due diligence. And that being said, even though the timing is bad in terms of COVID, taxes, economic loss, uncertainty, this is an important project, and it's ultimately going to be up to the voting public and the taxpayers to decide where it stands in terms of their priorities. So I fully support moving this to referendum in November.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bedrejko. Councilor Mankey?
Yeah, I just had some questions on the language here that I apologize. I missed last week's meeting when this probably discussed, and I maybe missed it, but it says here that will be on the first section, it goes down to where it says there'll be improvements to the playground area improvements. There'll be computers, art room equipment, music room equipment, media center equipment, administrative office equipment, food service equipment, and gym equipment. Can somebody give an explanation why that's included in a renovation? I didn't think we were gonna, I thought the playground was okay. And I'm not sure why equipment like computers, aren't we bringing the computers over with us when we move to the new building or the renovated building? Or am I missing something?
Chuck, do you want to field that question?
Sure. In most renovation projects that occur throughout the state, and it varies from district to district, there's a portion of the budget called furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And that encompasses quite a bit. Simply the furniture, the student desks, chairs, administrator desks, teacher desks, etc. Library bookcases. I think you can all imagine as you walk through the new town hall, anything that's movable, if you turn the building upside down and it falls out, that's the furniture. It also includes the main data equipment, all the servers and switches that will go in the main MDF room that support the heart of the building, if you will. It'll also support the security systems, PA systems, et cetera. I think you guys get the gist of that.
Okay.
It can support computers, laptops, and so forth. Those, in fact, however, those are ineligible with the state, just so everybody, full disclosure on those. Any loose wares, small wares like that are ineligible, but you can use those sources if the town chooses to do so. And then also for some of the playground equipment in regards to that, a lot of that stuff is in good shape. However, there are some improvements that we needed in some of the drainage areas. There are some, when we're walking the site, if you walk by there is some need for improvement in some of those areas. So I think that's, some of the intent on those. But one of these projects include a budget for FF&E costs, and that's what mostly those are.
Okay. So this is new stuff we need for the refurbished rooms.
Correct. Typically, when we renovate a project, we'll renovate it with upgraded furniture, because once you go in the building and it's brand new, this old furniture looks even.
Exactly. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess if I have still the floor, I have a couple questions. Did this proposal take in any new COVID requirements that may be coming down the pike because of the pandemic?
Well, unfortunately, at this time, we again, Chuck Warrington with Colliers, the new COVID requirements, they're really not out yet. We're still in that infancy of COVID. However, we do expect certainly requirements. We can all imagine probably in HVAC systems.
Right. So that would be
incorporating new technology. There's a lot being sold out there that isn't industry endorsed yet. Manufacturers are selling it. But there's certainly going to be a heightened preface on that as we look at the spaces and looking at, the ventilation systems, which are so important, like your nurse's suite, for example. I expect those to have dedicated exhaust, right to the outside versus recirculating into the building like they do nowadays. But that'll certainly be a topic of review as we go through the design.
And my other question is, I don't see in here what there's any solar panels or any solar capabilities. That's not included here?
Well, it could be. It all depends. A lot of times, a lot of districts will look at the roofing system and account for potentially, because right now the roof is flat, and that's really an ideal candidate for, say, photovoltaics. A lot of times districts will opt to go with a power purchasing agreement where, a supplier will come and install it, and you'll have that agreement with them, so you don't pay the upfront costs. It'll be a ballasted system, so you're not penetrating your roof. So it is a potential option. It's not identified specifically in a line item. But that's a matter of managing the budget in the building committee and looking at those, sustainability goals.
Okay. And just one other question for the public's. This doesn't increase the footprint of the school. We're just taking what the shell is, and we're just renovating the inside of the shell, or the outside too, I guess, with the windows and stuff.
Yes, there's one. The only caveat to that is the new elevator. So in the corner of the building where we're showing the footprint, there's, I'm estimated to be maybe 12 by 12, 15 by 15.
The size of an elevator, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just the elevator itself, and the state has stated that will be eligible. They won't hit us against the space waiver. But other than that, that was one of the things we evaluated early and worked with the administration with Dr. Brummett and Principal Smith, in that. I said, we can't justify going any larger because the state won't support it.
Right, okay. But I just want the public to know we aren't making a bigger building, we're just taking the building we already have.
Absolutely correct, yeah.
Thank you, Counselor Mankey. Counselor Minor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just two quick points. One was there was a little bit of a misnomer out as this project initially hit the public in terms of how the cost of the project had grown from $14 million in 2016 to $16 million in 18, currently in the 2021 year at being, I believe, 20 or 21 million. And then as it was finally presented in the spring, being almost 35 million. And I wanted to offer a little bit of clarity to that, that depending on the year in which the CIP list was drawn, it appears to me, based on everything I've read, and maybe Dr. Brummett or Mr. Jacomowitz could confirm, is I believe the number is listed as the bonded amount, which would be the net cost to the taxpayers and the town of Newington. So Dr. Brummett or Lou, could you just touch on that to verify that?
That's my understanding. And of course, any number that was written previously was an estimate. It was not with the benefit of a project manager or an architect. But that is my understanding, yes.
Okay, and the second thing was the last bond offering that we had with, I believe, several months ago for the Town Hall Community Center project. I'm not sure if anybody's on from finance, but I believe that was the most favorable bond offering we've had in anybody's recent history. Can anybody touch on that?
Janet, are you with us?
I'm still with you. Yeah. Yeah, it was the most favorable we had. Of course, this bonding, when we go up to the next bonding, is 2 years out. I can't predict 2 years out. If I did, I'd win lotto right now. But it was below 3%, which is just unheard of usually in the bond industry. It was a 20-year bond below 3%. Economy wise, I don't know where we'll be in 22, but hopefully we're in the same place.
Okay, and one more question for you, Janet, while you're here. I believe by statute, the state of Connecticut allowed municipalities several years ago to extend their bond offerings for municipal building construction to a maximum 30 years versus the previous 20 years. Am I correct in that? I'm just looking at, possibly.
You can do 30 years. I would not recommend it. It would add almost, I did out the numbers because somebody brought it to me. It would add almost 4 million in interest to the thing. It would bring down your annual, because it's spread over 30 years. And also when you go to the Standard & Poor's to look at that, they frown on it. They do not want states, and there's not many buyers for a 30-year bond municipality. The standard is 20, and that's what they usually like to stick to.
Okay, when you did the $4 million analysis on a 20 to 30 difference, what were you using for a rate structure on a 20 to a 30? Just out of curiosity.
I was actually using the same rate. I wasn't going up as I did on a 20-year bond. It could be worse because a 30-year bond would have a higher rate. So I was using a 3%.
Okay, yeah, no, just looking at options, and that was one thing that popped up, that on a theoretically a 50-year service life building, that 30-year net would be no different than new construction home. Thank you, appreciate it, Janet.
Just a quick follow-up, Janet, in terms of the amounts that are submitted for CIP, is that typically just the bonding cost or the full cost? I always interpreted that 21 that was submitted in December as being the full estimated cost of the project.
All it said on it was it had out the amount, like this year had out the amount is 21 million and change. And it had an asterisk next to it saying, could be eligible for reimbursement. And nowhere in there did it say it was just a town portion. So I wouldn't know. When planning projects, everybody else sends it in at the full amount of the project. I wouldn't have known by looking at that was just a town or the bonding portion of it.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Nagel?
Thank you. You asked, Mayor, you asked a question I was about to ask, but I want to add something else just so everyone is clear, especially the public. Newington has a town CIP committee, and other towns do not. Their funds go direct, their requests for large amounts go directly to the citizens. And as part of our town CIP, it covers bond issues. So indeed, funds that are used for this project, as well as the town hall project and paying off, comes out of that amount. And what is left over, or what is there in addition, that's a set amount or may change every year if the council so chooses, is used for smaller projects that we, as the CIP committee, can determine to fund or not fund. So seems to be something of a misinterpretation by people in town that indeed this is added directly to our taxes. Yes, it is involved in the taxes, but it doesn't directly increases things, because part of our budget for the year includes an amount to pay off large bonding issues such as this if they are approved. I hope that clarifies something and makes it clear in terms of how we can bond, and we're not in the same situation that most towns, if not all towns, are. If Janet wants to clarify that or add something to that, please feel free.
I do want to clarify, we kind of set a limit, and we've gone back to it as 6.3 million is the total amount for CIP debt payment. So it does come out of that. This year, the amount is much lower. So anything we do in subsequent years is going to increase the taxes. If you want to keep on doing the projects and add debt, we weren't at the $6.3 million limit this year. We were much less. So I just want everybody to be very cognizant of the fact that if you stay at the level we have now, it's not at 6.3, it's less than that.
Yeah, thank you for giving that specific amount, and that was what I was trying to get at, as opposed to immediately, if this project is approved, taxes will go up exponentially. They won't, because of that and other factors that have been discussed tonight. Thank you.
Councilor Minor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one more clarification. Just going through the 4 or 5 year CIP that the Board of Education packet that we were looking at within the last few days, there's at least one, if not two, that do recognize the total project cost and then the net bonded cost. I don't know why they're not consistent year over year. Maybe moving forward, that's something that we obviously pay special attention to, but it appears that at least in one, if not two examples, they were recognized as the net bonded cost to be assumed by the town of Newington.
Okay, thank you. Any further council comment or question? I actually have a question that was posed to me earlier today by a member of the public, and I didn't quite know how to answer it. So I'm hoping those of you on the committee perhaps or the presenters can help me. This person made reference to a design build project and was concerned that with a design build project, there's no open bid, which would be a concern for us. Is that, can you help me understand that? Chuck, thank you.
Yes, certainly. Chuck Warrington with Colliers. So a design build project is it's a delivery system for a construction project. It wouldn't be for this one. Okay. Basically, design build is when we hire, you solicit services for a team of an architect and a contractor combined in almost like a joint venture. And typically the contractor is the lead and the architect working for the contractor. And you put out a spec for a building, like say, they're usually used for maybe a parking garage. They're good for dormitories at some of our state universities. I worked at Eastern University. We built 3 dorms on the design build and said, here's the specs that we want and give us ideas, and here's the budget. And they design it and build it. It's a fast track. This is not the case. This would be a design bid build, which is our typical way of hiring an architect, going through a design process, bid it out, build it. We would recommend the use of a construction manager where they're hired during the design, like Downs Construction is in the town hall. Similar to them, you'd solicit the service through a professional service. You'd bring them on board. They'd help us estimate, do constructability reviews, scheduling, et cetera, and be part of the project team, if you will. But the project is still put out the bid to the trade contractors, publicly bid, lowest qualified responsible bidder, the certifications, SB, all that. So this is not a design build project, at least not that we would recommend.
Wonderful. Thank you for clarifying that. Councilor Minor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just as a point of clarification, I believe, and Chuck, you can remind me if we went into this in the building committee, but I believe there was a discussion of going with a construction manager, and there was some discussion of a construction manager at risk with a guaranteed maximum price. Am I off in that conversation, or was that something that was at least discussed? Because that's another thing that we'd want to try to make sure that we capture the cap cost on it and don't get into cost overruns.
Sure, and I'll be happy to answer that. So I think we did touch upon that a bit. Based upon this type of work being a phased construction, especially in an elementary school, one important thing to point out is when we talked about the phasing, we looked at that because we want to avoid renting portable classrooms, because those are a waste of money. The state doesn't want to pay for them. You're not going to want to pay for them. So we were looking strategically, could we find enough spaces so we can, you saw all those blocks of colors, and we're looking, can we get 6 to 8 classrooms at a time? And we think we can, but having a construction manager on board, they're the construction experts. Yes, we do it. And I'm an engineer and John's an architect. We have contractors, but the construction managers are the ones that you want on board to help strategize and develop a strategy, a phasing plan, working with Jason and his team during design. So we all know, how are we going to work our way around this building? So a construction manager, there's a lot of them in the area. We would definitely recommend. Now, the delivery system, the construction manager at risk, what that is basically, we give them a control budget. We go out with this, they're going to get a control budget on this project. It's that 27.5 million that we share. So the architect and their contract and that RFP would be said, you have to design a 27.5, you own it. It's in their the contracts we write for you. They own that. If they go over, they have to redesign and bring it back in. It's budget management. Same thing for the contractor. Now with the GMP at risk, some people think that, okay, if there's any change orders, that they own the change orders. They only own what's on the contract documents when it goes to bid. If the architect misses something, they don't own that. They only own what's on the contract. But if they miss a scope of work that's on there, they take it out of what they call CM contingency. So it doesn't, they say at risk, it doesn't totally minimize the risk to the owner. There's some risk to both. You have to have a good set of contract documents, a good buyout, a good qualified construction manager that's going to give you a good buyout as well. So.
Okay, thank you. There was just one other thing that you actually touched on that I just wanted to correct. So if you're building and you're basing it on your construction documents, the errors and omissions and change orders and unknown conditions, those basically 3 or 4 components are the only thing exclusionary to the construction manager as well as the architect owning it in terms of what they are supposed to deliver to the cost they're supposed to deliver it for, correct?
Yeah, just to clarify those items. So unforeseen conditions go above the ceiling, and we're not going to tear apart this. I don't think we're going to tear apart the ceilings before we go out to construction, but any unforeseen conditions, errors and omissions, which if we're involved and we're writing the contracts, we cap those errors and omissions typically at 1%. But that's a discussion with your legal counsel. They would review those contracts, and we'd have a discussion with the building committee of how you want to structure those. Third party, such as the building official, fire marshal, we always have additional requests during construction as they're walking through the building. or from the owner yourself. Any betterments that you may owner requests would come from that owner's contingency pot, which again, we had highlighted in our presentation. And this one's about 2.3 million. It's about 7.5% of construction. So their CM contingency wouldn't cover that. It would come from the owner's contingency. And then any savings from the CM contingency, whatever they don't use, comes back to you at the end of the day. If we get a really good CM, we expect to get a lot of that money back.
Okay, and just quick clarification, I'll yield the floor, is what are we carrying for a estimated contingency value for both the construction manager as well as the owner? What percentage?
So the owner's contingency, we carry about 7.5% is what we calculated. The CM contingency is a separate line item. That's within the construction budget. And when we put the services out, that would be part of the total construction budget. So we tell them out of the 27.5, that includes the CM contingency.
Okay, because that was a concern that I'd heard from several residents of making sure that we had enough money in there in contingency for the unknowns. Our neighboring town, Weathersfield, ran into some environmental issues that really sent them into a tailspin, and just trying to avoid that type of situation. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
Yeah, the statement change order, concern me. I'm reading through the text again, and I think we got in trouble on the town hall on, things being requested for change orders that didn't necessarily go back through the committee. Is there anything in here that says all change orders have to be approved by the building committee?
Who can answer that question for him?
Mayor, this is Mike Vitello, bond counsel to the town. Do you want me to speak to that issue?
That would be great, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, so the resolution, generally a bond authorization is not going to speak specifically to change orders per se. It's understood that to the extent that changes need to be made because the project might be too expensive or might go beyond the appropriation of the $35.5 million, that the town council has the authority to modify or to reduce the scope of the project as necessary, and that the entire appropriation authorized would be spent on the project as reduced or modified. That's actually at the end of the first paragraph. So in essence, that kind of addresses a change order situation because, you never know. Depending upon when this price is out, certain elements of the project might become too expensive. You might want to scale it back. And in that case, the town council would have the authority to do that. Once again, this is assuming that you don't go beyond the bond amount of $17.75 million, $17,750,000. If you were to go beyond that, that would have to go back to the voters in terms of any new bonding.
Right, but I understand that by reading, but my specific question is, and maybe it's not part of the bond language, but it should be somewhere written down that not anybody can throw in a change order, because I believe that's
Mayor?
up in the town hall.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes,
This is
go
Steve
ahead.
Woods. Yeah. Councilor Donahue, yes, the building committee would oversee all change orders. Now, having said that, sometimes because you need to keep the production of work, there might be a small amount. It could be like $4,000 or $5,000 that is allowed that would come back to the committee afterwards. But typically, any sort of change order will come to the committee first, be approved, and then worked on, not afterwards. And that's one thing we will definitely do.
Yeah, and it's probably in the parameters or the responsibilities of the school building committee. You guys basically adopted a resolution that laid out the responsibilities of the school building committee, and I would expect that things like change orders and the mechanics of administering the project would be included in that. So it's not spoken to in the bond resolution.
Yeah, and there's also a contract, if I could, that when the contracts are let, there's AIA contracts, A201s, the general conditions for the contract, and it clearly states that the contractor nor the architect are permitted to authorize additional costs without approval of the owner. In that case, the owner would be the school, the building committee on the project. So they have to get written approval in a building committee meeting for those.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Mike, thank you for clarifying some of those questions. That was one of the questions I had on my list here was, God forbid something drastic changes between now and November and we do pass this referendum. Is there the ability to kind of scale back if absolutely necessary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, things can change during a period of time, and that's why the resolution allows that flexibility. And ideally, the project comes in at 35.5 or no more than that, but you never know. So you have the flexibility there to modify as necessary.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other council comment or question? All right, I think we're ready for a roll call vote then.
Counselor Anist,
Yes.
Counselor Braverman,
Yes.
Counselor Budraco,
Yes.
Counselor Camillo,
Yes.
Counselor Donahue,
Yes.
Counselor Menke,
Yes.
Counselor Minor,
Yes.
Counselor Nagel,
Yes.
Mayor Del Buono.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is public participation. So I am just going to, I know there can be up to a 20-second delay, so I'll wait a moment and see if anyone raises their hand. And Ms. Lyons is ready for us. Go ahead, Ms. Lyons.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. Thank you very much. In my lifetime now, the town hall and Anna Reynolds going to referendum. Let's hope that Anna Reynolds is easier on us than the town hall was. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Ms. Lyons. Thank you. And Mr. Helvey?
I just want to say thanks to everyone for the careful deliberation, some thoughtful questions, and I really appreciate you continuing to support moving this project forward. The students and Anna Reynolds really deserve it. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. You as well. All right, we'll just give it about 10 more seconds to make sure no one else raises their hand in our attendees window. All right, seeing none, we will move on to remarks by counselors. Everybody's talked out for the evening? All right, I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated this evening, the members of the public, the members of the committee, our presenters this evening, the Board of Education, all of the counselors. I know it was a very long evening, but I think it was very worthwhile to hear from all parties involved before making such a big decision. So I'm appreciative of each and every one of you and your input in the process. And now it's time to let the voters decide come November. Thank you, everyone. The next item is movement to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Camillo, seconded by Counselor Anist. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes and we stand adjourned at 10:10. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Maureen.